and Roboboot. What's next, Denise?
How about an explosive roguelite where you play as not one, but 4 blade-wielding badasses?
I am so... More amazingly, that was the work of just one developer. Morbid Metal is coming soon to PC.
You know, Doug, I think golf is just too relaxing these days. It's like, tee up, hit it onto the green, get a hole in one, all that jazz. It's just too easy.
I think I have the perfect solution for you, and it involves disco balls and flying cars.
This is interesting. We're definitely gonna have to try that one. Oh, there's a beta? Hello.
That was Turbo Golf Racing, which is launching into early access on August 4th. There's also a demo available right now on Steam and Xbox, so be sure to check it out after the show.
Yeah, man.
Oh shit, I was...
Do you ever feel like you're being watched, Doug?
What's that?
I said you lose power or something?
Live stream right
No, I
like
just
my
been muted
whole
for a
life
while.
is
I don't know
being
what the fuck.
I wouldn't worry about it. Cue the sun.
Yeah, that Turbo Golf game looks
Run the trailer.
cool.
Now in its 55th season, American Arcadia, broadcast live 24
Well, I guess I feel better
hours a
than
day,
that I
7
wasn't
days a week
talking
on
to myself,
every digital
so
platform.
to speak. But yeah, dude, they definitely should. So the Hitman versus Operation Tango idea.
Welcome to Arcadia,
I think that you could even do another thing like that and have like a Mission Impossible type, like flesh it out even more so, right? Mission Impossible where you have like multiple type people and you have like classes or whatever.
That'd be cool.
On the planet, where a drop in popularity comes at the highest
Ooh,
cost.
this free demo of Turbo Golf Racing on Steam.
Gus is dead.
Yeah, I downloaded that when they had the 2 beta weekends or whatever. When I, sent in the chat or whatever that one day. But when I tried it, I couldn't get connected, and I looked at the thing. They're like, "Oh, we're having server issues," and then I just forgot about it for that weekend.
Yeah, it said they're doing another beta right now. Give it a shot. It looks interesting.
I need to get close to the cameras and upload the loop footage from my cell phone. But I have to be sure the right video is uploaded to the right camera.
We tell the story of two characters. One of them is living inside the Arcadia, that is a city where everything is perfect, but it's just a lie. Trevor is just an average person living a mundane life, but the problem is, since he's living inside a TV show, that is not interesting for the audience. It doesn't make him popular, the ratings are not working, and the TV show just wants to take rid of him. So when he realizes that everything was a lie, his life changes totally. That's the moment when he is going to escape.
Subject 10392, turn yourself in or you'll be neutralized.
Como ya nos sucedió en Call of Duty, queríamos movernos en un mundo que nos resultara evocador. Nos gusta crear mundos sorprendentes, que sean visualmente atractivos y, como he dicho, sobre todo evocadores. Y además nos gusta darles una vuelta de tuerca. Y en este caso hemos elegido una visión bastante brillante y colorida de lo que serían los años 70. Los personajes, los ambientes, incluso el mobiliario, representan esta versión utópica y bastante kitsch de una ciudad de los años 70.
What we want to tell is that you don't need to live just for getting likes on Instagram or the social networks. Just do the things that make you happy, and you don't need to care about what the others think.
Control subject on the run on camera 4025. Interrupt broadcast immediately.
Thanks to Out of the Blue Games for that exclusive insight into the dark side of reality TV in American Arcadia, which is coming soon.
Now, if you've ever wondered what life was like for Optimus Prime before he got famous, then our next trailer has all the answers.
What? Dumb intro.
Yeah, I mean...
People really like these fucking trucker games. I get it. Like the Ice Road trucker games, I sort of get. There's like a lot of strategy to those, and you gotta like get stuck. There's like mini games to get out. Like, I don't know, there's some interesting stuff there, I guess.
What's up, Doug?
Oh, my bad. I was just booking a trip to Alaska. Free gas.
We're pleased to announce that a demo for Alaskan Truck Simulator is out now, and the game is coming to PC and consoles in Q4 2022.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I'm Doug Cockle, though you may know me best from CD Projekt Red's beloved Witcher trilogy.
Wait, why are we back at the start?
Oh, I've just been playing with this weird device that the developers of our next game sent me. Want me to press this other button and see what it does?
No. Let's just, roll the trailer.
That's sorted. Anything else?
Warning. The current temperature of Earth is approaching 100 million degrees Celsius.
Oh, great.
Puzzles are the most efficient way of generating entropy energy. As an Entropy Center employee, the continued existence of this station and Earth depends on your energy generation. All analysis conclude that you have most likely survived.
Thanks, Astra.
Okay, so solve puzzle, brain hurts, generate energy, then rewind Earth.
Exactly.
That was the Entropy Center, which is coming to PC and consoles in 2022.
Next up, we've got a special presentation from some incredible Ukrainian developers. Games development can be challenging at the best of times, and with the ongoing conflict, we wanted to highlight and celebrate the incredible work they continue to do. Let's take a look.
On February 24 at 5 am, our cities were bombed.
The war drastically changed game development.
During the first months of war, the work on the game was mostly stopped.
We sleep in shifts, and regular air raid alerts have made us move to our apartment's hallway pretty much permanently.
My teammates Ruslan and Ksu have spent a week inside Kharkiv metro, covering from never-ending airstrikes, and had to reach the city railway station by underground tunnels to evacuate.
Oh, excuse me. So disrespectful.
Hey everyone, I'm Alex from Weasel Token, an indie duo based in Kyiv, Ukraine. Our current project is a peaceful puzzle adventure called Puzzles for Clef. The story's premise is quite simple. Following an invitation from her sister, a young bunny girl named Clef travels to the sky island of their ancestors to participate in a huge treasure hunt. But of course there would be some interesting twists for those willing to dig deeper. Gameplay-wise, you will get to explore the island with tons of secrets all over the place, solve a variety of puzzles, befriend cute and whimsical locals. From time to time you'll also need to learn and play some special melodies that influence the world around you. We would really appreciate it if you followed Weasel Token on social media. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Please wishlist and follow Puzzles for Clef on Steam. That helps a lot. Also join us on our Discord server. We always enjoy talking to our fellow gamers.
Hi, my name is Vitaly, and I represent Marvel Collective. Together, we are working on Zero Losses, a short, open-world driving game with horror elements and hollow atmosphere. Zero Losses is our inevitable reaction to the events surrounding us. While most games about war focus on action and combat, we wanted to bring a different perspective, filled with oppressive, dark atmosphere, showcasing the unsettling aftermath of the modern warfare. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube. Look for Marvel Collective.
Hi everyone, I'm Marginal Act and I'm working on This Rain Will Never End. This Rain Will Never End is a noir adventure detective point-and-click game about a cat detective who tries to solve the murder of ex-mayor of the Sunny City and also tries to solve the mystery of never-ending downpour. You can subscribe to my social networks, Twitter, Instagram. Also, you can wishlist This Rain Will Never End. Thank you very much. Glory to Ukraine.
Hello world, my name is Andriy Bychkovsky. I'm indie game developer originally from Kyiv. Together with a small team, I'm working on turn-based Mars colony city builder called Farlanders. In my games, I'm always trying to make some unique mechanics to stand out. Except for colony building, the core mechanic in the game is terraforming. Also, in the game you can learn new technologies, trade with other colonies, and explore underground caves. So to summarize, if Farlanders seems like your cup of tea, wishlist it on Steam, or try out Farlanders Prologue, which is already available for free.
Hi, my name is Albert Konyer, I am the developer of the indie game Through the Nightmares. Through the Nightmares is a hardcore platformer about Sandman that travels in the mysterious and frightening world of the Children Nightmares. The player will have to overcome all children's fears and fight with the almighty god of dreams, Morpheus. If you want to support us, visit our Steam page, add the game to your wish list, play the demo, and give us your feedback in any possible way.
Which I'm fine with. Those can be fun.
Head on over to GamesRadar.com for more information on our Games for Ukraine presentation and a list of charities that would welcome your support.
Arcadia, where you're like in a game show or whatever.
If you like the animation series
can't
Gravity
remember.
Falls or Over the Garden
It's
Wall,
like that
you're going
style,
to
but it's
love
like real
our
bright
next
and
game.
colorful.
Lost in Play is a puzzle
Has, like, a
adventure that
different,
follows two siblings lost in their own imagination.
I'm sure I've seen it, I just can't call it right
Truman
now.
Showy, but it has that same kind of like running through a big dystopian world kind of thing.
Lost in Play lands on PC and Nintendo Switch on August 10th, 2022. You know what? We're approaching the midpoint of the show, and I could kill for a nice, refreshing drink. Is there any Redanian lager lying around?
Spoken like a true Witcher. We don't have any real beer, but this next trailer is sure to quench your thirst.
It's a restaurant or brewery game?
Ever try not remember.
Yo, by the way, I don't know if you looked at like Devolver's website thoroughly, but I went through all the games, right, and looked at every single one on like whatever platform. They're all the same, basically, dude. But they have some ridiculously good ideas for marketing. So, for instance, there's actually two games that are crazy good marketing. The first one that I saw is called Devolver Expo, I think, and basically the whole game is like this Devolver Expo that like gets canceled last minute, and you go in and you have to retrieve all the trailers for video games, right? That they're showing at the expo, and it'll show you like shortened like trailers of them in there, but you're also playing an actual video game, so there's like shooting, you have guns, like all this other stuff. Shit happens. The other one is called Devolver Bootleg, and it's basically like this emulator. You download this thing that feels like an emulator based off everything I saw and read, and you get 8 like knockoff, like cheap Chinese knockoff versions of the games, of popular games on there that they sell. But they're like all 2-bit on there, and you pay like $5 for it, whatever. And I was like, this is kind of fucking brilliant.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. I never checked it out.
And then going through their website, there's other aspects that were like really kind of brilliant, like through it. I can't remember all of them, but I was like looking at after like we stopped looking. I was like, damn, dude. I gotta remember to tell Max to like check out the site and go through, because there's just some hidden shit in there. Like,
didn't appreciate his talent, and people would frequently bully him. The only soul that didn't was a girl that Necken fell in love with. One day, the bullying and beating became so severe that Necken's anger finally overtook him. He marched into the village, playing forbidden melodies that made everyone dance until their flesh and bone got worn down. They eventually died, leaving behind shuffling corpses still trying to dance to Necken's melodies. His love wasn't spared death either. Devastated, Necken left the town and lived by the lake, drowning in his sorrow, luring people with his deadly music.
Pretty goddamn depressing.
Necken is just one of the creatures you'll meet in Bramble the Mountain King. You will meet many more, both big and small, good and evil on your journey throughout the beautiful yet deadly world of Bramble. Bramble the Mountain King is coming soon to PC and consoles. Be sure to add Bramble to your wishlist. Thank you for watching.
I know a necker when I see one. Bramble the Mountain King is coming soon to PC and consoles.
Okay, now I'm no mobster, but I've got an offer that you can't refuse, in the form of a world premiere.
The world has always been divided into people with money and those who want to get it at any cost. And in the middle of this conflict are also those who just fight on one side or the other. Unknown heroes or villains. Perhaps the right choices can be written on the pages of one story or another. The best way to get rich is sometimes to get remembered. Each single struggle will be the fight for your life as enemy of the state.
Okay.
Enemy of the State is coming to PC and consoles in 2024.
That's a really badly written voiceover.
Now, we've had so many amazing trailers that I think it's time for a break.
So take another pass at that, guys.
Coffee? Ale?
Oh, I've got something better than tea. You just have to follow me through one of my portals. No need to be afraid, though. We have done this before.
This never ends well for me. Oh my god, where am I? It's so bright. What's that smell? Violet gooseberries?
No, Doug. This is the virtual show floor. Every booth in here has a game attached, with a demo going live after the show. Google Future Games Show Steam to find the dedicated page and try out any of the games you like the look of.
Let's go! Just when you thought you'd had enough of being tarnished this year, we've got a fantasy RPG set in the ruins of two divine kingdoms. The Tarnishing of Juxtia features awesome boss battles, high-risk, high-reward combat, and a beautiful score to boot. It's also launching later this year in summer 2022. What's next, Denise?
From one ruined kingdom to another, let's take a look at the grimdark world of Orcs. A blend of tower defense and deck building gameplay, Orcs invites players to fortify castles and expand their territory while fighting against an onslaught of, you guessed it, Orcs. With over 300 cards and 4 factions to play with, Orcs is coming to PC later this year.
Over here, we've got a point-and-click inspired by the LucasArts classics. Let's check in on A Twisted Tale. With hand-drawn backgrounds and a catalog of comical characters, this old-school adventure will have you giggling and traveling to broken cities, mighty pirate ships, deep jungles, and more.
Inspired by games like Slay the Spire and Monster Train, here comes a rock and roll roguelite, where players use musical abilities to fend off a mosh pit of monsters. This diverse deck builder is a bona fide battle of the bands, where you assemble a team of vicious virtuosos to defend against hordes of demons.
Reptilian Rising is a turn-based tactics game, where you take on a barbaric horde of lizards and futuristic robot dinosaurs. Fighters from across time are recreated in a retro miniature format, in a true homage to the tabletop style of the 1980s. Reptilian Rising features multiple replayable levels with lots of bonus objectives, and you can also challenge fellow players in online PvP to see which tactician ends up on top.
Think less I am the danger and more I am the savior. Potion Permit is a cute chemist simulator from Mass Hive Media. With rich pixel art and a soaring score, you'll gather ingredients to brew precious remedies that help the townsfolk of Moonbury. Pack your satchel because Potion Permit is coming to PC and console in 2022.
Next up, we've got a gorgeous rhythm game set in a world where dreams and reality collide. Melatonin from Half Asleep Games pits players in a pastel world where they must unravel a narrative by engaging in charming challenges complemented by a bouncy, vibrant score. Next up, we've got a musical adventure about two best friends trying to make it in the big city. Once Upon a Jester follows Jester and Sock as they try to develop a dynamic, improvisational theater show worthy of the Royal Theatrical Spectacle. Decide your genre, listen to the crowd, and make valuable friends in this handcrafted lo-fi odyssey.
If you've ever wanted to play tag in a graveyard full of ghouls, then this game is for you. Bail or Jail is a creepy, cute, asymmetrical multiplayer game from Konami. Players have 3 minutes to round up runaway humans or escape the grasp of malevolent monsters, each with unique abilities. And that's a wrap on the virtual show floor. Remember to head to the Future Games Show Steam page if you want to play these beauties after the show, free of charge. And just one final reminder that you can Google Future Games Show Steam to download all those demos after the show.
Winds howling. I think that means there's another world premiere on the horizon.
Peggy 18.
I like the music so far.
That was your first look at Sunday Gold, which is coming in 2022.
Our next game is coming to VR platforms, but I doubt you'll be able to keep your fancy headsets on for too long when you're playing. Let's take a look.
Your fancy headsets.
¿Qué está pasando aquí?
Han, ¿dónde estás? Julia, espera.
Esta es mi casa, pero tal vez no lo es.
I'll pick Hide, please. Do Not Open is coming to VR platforms in fall 2022.
Now it's time for an update on Bright Memory Infinite, FYQD Studios' hectic shooter.
Shelia, according to info from the front lines, General Lin's unit has arrived at the scene.
General Lin?
The top dog in SA9. They say that tech-wise, even we here at SRO can't hold a candle to these guys.
Roger. I'll move cautiously.
It's been a while, Shelia. To think we'd meet like this. Once it's all been poured out, a new world will be born.
Did you see a trailer for this sometime before? I feel like we saw a trailer where it's like guns and like supernatural abilities.
I mean, sounds like a lot of
I mean, most of them aren't first person though, like this. That are also like ancient Japan type.
Shelly, Spawn, what happened? Shelly.
Yeah. Yeah, the title definitely. But they showed just like a little bit before. I can't remember when we were watching it, but I feel like it was months and months ago. I'm not sure when exactly. If memory serves correct, it was like the last thing of like showing something, and it was like, I think, a lot shorter, obviously.
Bright Memory Infinite is out now on PC and is coming soon to PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch.
Next up, we've got a gothic horror Metroidvania that looks like a pixely version of Bloodborne. Let's check it out.
Okay. I like those combinations of things. Yeah, I gotta play this one.
Yeah, it looks kind of amazing.
Very Symphony of the Night.
The Last Faith is coming to PC and consoles in 2022.
Now, let's check in with our friends from Team 17, who have a montage of exciting upcoming games to show us.
Peggy 18.
Come on, Frank. We need to vacate these premises now.
Let's move on straight to our deceased. Well, who do we have here today?
Be sure to wishlist any games that stood out, and you can read more about them on gamesradar.com.
Have you ever wondered what the bugs in your house are doing when you're out?
Not really. Probably just making a mess.
You'd be surprised. Try complex governmental structures and organized religion. At least that's the brief I've got for Tinykin, which is up next.
Welcome to the fascinating world of Tinykin. Tinykin are extraordinary little creatures. Alone, they rarely pose a threat. But in great numbers, they are exemplary. Look, here's some now. Ah, the purple Tinykin. Extremely powerful despite their small stature. Look here, green Tinykin. Extremely resourceful in reaching daring new heights. Stand back, unless you want a blue Tinykin to zap you with a powerful electric current. And that's everything. Wait, what's this? Well, look. There's Daniel, a red Tinykin. Adorable. With an immensely fiery temper.
Tinykin is coming to PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch.
You know when you're finished cleaning, but you realize you missed a bunch of crumbs? It's like, just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in.
Yeah, it's like when the boss orders a hit and you've got to go clean it up after hours. Ugh.
Sort of. Maybe this next game is for you.
Four people sharing a table on a New Year's Eve. A plate full of troubling memories. And a bitter taste of regret.
Mother, should I run for president?
505 Games and Draw Distance are proud to present Serial Cleaners.
Lots of crime.
A story of loyalty, betrayal, and crime. Lots of crime. The past they share is all that stands in the way of redemption. If you remember the 90s differently, their dirty work is the reason why.
So that's how you get wine out of a carpet. Serial Cleaners is launching in September on PC, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox.
Do you ever miss taking your shoes off in front of strangers and spending your life savings on a cup of coffee? And boy, do we have the simulator for you.
I like the music.
Yeah.
Don't forget to renew your passport because Airport Simulator is coming into land on PC and Xbox Series X and S in 2023. Let's break things up with our ones to watch montage. Keep your eyes peeled for several exciting games that are coming in the near future, and check out this awesome bespoke introduction from the team behind Inculinati.
Did you look at that Terra Nil trailer that I posted in your Discord? It's one from Devolver. It doesn't have like a release date or like anything. It doesn't even have like a vague year, right? But I think it's really cool, like version of like I guess sim building or whatever genre. But it's like very much like eco-ready. So like there was buildings to put down where it was like turning forests into wetlands, or like burnt down like forests into, you know, like fields. It looked really cool.
Yeah, those are.
Me neither, but I generally like when somebody does something different. I'm like, okay, you know, I like to see what they do with it, you know, the different ideas, even if I'm not gonna play it.
Turn your head? Check out gamesradar.com for more information.
Next up, we've got a new game from the minds behind Happy Game Amanita Design. In Phonopolis, you'll help Felix solve playful puzzles in an avant-garde fiberboard city. We couldn't quite work out how either, but what you're about to see is actual gameplay.
Very bold art style.
I like it.
That was Phonopolis, which is coming soon.
Now we've got a subterranean roguelike where you play as a lucid dreamer in a world of endless slumber.
Please, please grant us protection from that hideous strength. It casts a shadow as endless as the dream. We all wither in its shade, succumbing to all manner of desire willed into being by the dream. Those who refuse to slake such corrupt thirst are cast into the depths to languish in solitude. Until a voice, strong and sure as their own, whispers in their ear.
This dream is ours. You need only ask for what you desire to will it into being. A safe return, a better world. Simply ask.
Why must you vex me so?
A lost land requires a shepherd.
What manner of shepherd are you, Wolf?
Down here? The only one around.
Don't sleep on being and becoming, which is becoming soon to PC.
Our next game follows a pilot who crash lands in the Arctic after his plane is chopped in half by mysterious forces. But he also has a court-mandated therapy robot called Alfie. Every cloud, right?
Hello, Kai. I thought you could use some company up here.
Yeah, not really. I'm good. Donovan, you copy? Hey, drone, wake up.
Hello, sir. I must have unexpectedly powered off.
Yeah, so did I.
I do want to help in any way I can, Kai.
You can help by staying out of it. Oh, get out of here!
Hello? Kai? You out there?
Oh, thank God. I thought I'd lost you.
Was that Donovan I heard on the radio?
What, you're spying on me now?
I got it covered, Boy Scout.
Donovan. Oh, I think Donovan just fell.
Wait, power station? Out here? Hey, Donovan.
Donovan, play hurdy-gurdy.
You know what's funny? Arctic Awakening, there's just some game names that, like, I have the thought, which is reoccurring, I feel like, every year, where I'm like, we really should have a video game generator. Like, me and you should make, like, a video game generator where it's just, like, pick a noun and a verb.
Oh, I'm sure.
Or, like, an adjective. Oh, yeah, I'm sure it does as well, you know? But it's like, dude, Arctic Awakening just seems like a previously generated.
Sorry. I'm just canceling that trip to Alaska. That was Arctic Awakening, which is coming to PC, Mac, and consoles.
But I would like to have it, the more that the generation goes on, the more crazy, so it would just be words that didn't make sense, so like the freezening or something.
This is not a challenge for the faint-hearted. We're the 20 best drivers in the world.
Or just do what Devolver did and you continually just combine games. Tom Clancy's Animal Crossing.
It's lights out.
Dude, that had me die yesterday or the other day, and I was like looking at or thinking about other things that would be hilarious, you know?
I lost power. Just stay in the car for a second.
There's not much in it at the front, with the two cars constantly vying for first place. It's a thrilling battle with neither driver giving an inch.
We might still be early in the season, but that doesn't mean we can sit back and relax.
Resident Stardew Evil.
And nothing is certain at this stage. Here we go, with the Azerbaijan Grand Prix.
I think we should be satisfied with the step we've done, at least here.
Oh no, it's a spin!
Pit lane. Got you blocked.
Strap yourselves in. This is Formula One.
Who wants to be in the driver's seat when you can be in the driver's seat? Anyway, don't forget to tune into the PC Gaming Show to see the first gameplay from F1 Manager, which is racing onto PC, PlayStation, and Xbox on August 25th, 2022.
Put your dukes up, folks, because this next game is a certified DKO.
Wait, what does that mean?
Divine knockout, Doug. Duh.
That was Divine Knockout, which is coming soon. Our next game is an adventure epic where you navigate a world full of tricky puzzles with the help of your robo-friend.
It's true that behind every main character there's a smart, talented companion to help them get through it all.
Denise, are you referring to Yennefer?
Well, if the shoe fits, here's Planet of Lana.
Did you already see this preview the other day?
It did.
Yeah. Yeah, I mentioned it like in your chat when we were having all that talk. Like, I think they showed it at the showcase. You guys were talking about the Devs one, actually.
Yeah, this is definitely one I'll want to check out.
Yeah, this is the one that I think I said like reminded me of like us playing the other single players, like trading off and on roller. It definitely reminded me of like Inside, I think.
Yeah, this one I like that.
Yeah.
Planet of Lana is coming to PC and Xbox in 2022.
This next reveal is a pretty big deal. No spoilers, but let's just say I really didn't see this one coming.
Deadly Premonition.
How did this happen in my town?
Never thought there'd be a murder out here.
Our world
I don't think I ever played these.
could never be explained with logic.
Yeah, me neither.
This changes everything. It's time to put our skills to the test.
Deadly Premonition 2 is out now on PC. That's right, now! Today! This second! Go check it out.
Based on the notes on my script, it looks like the producers were struggling for jokes on this one. There's something about Geralt hunting a moomin. Honestly, it's not even worth it. This trailer is adorable and I just need you all to see it.
home.
Snufkin, Melody of Moomin Valley is coming to PC and consoles in 2023 with a soundtrack from Icelandic post-rock band Sigur Rós. Last but not least, we've got a brand new multiplayer survival game that fans of Pokemon are sure to enjoy. Let's check it out.
This game is. Jesus Christ.
Can't wait to check that one out.
Well, it looks like we're at the end of the show. It's been an honor, Doug.
Check the back of your script. I think we missed something.
Okay. Do you also have one more thing written in blood? Is that normal?
Yes, I do, and no, this is not normal. I'm gonna go sharpen my silver sword.
Vampires? What are we doing? Dead Spacey looking.
Yeah, it seems to be a big thing this year.
Really? I mean, I love me some Dead Space. And I definitely want to play Callisto Protocol, but like, I only need like one of those a year, maybe. You know?
Now that really is the end of our show. But remember to try out all the
Right.
demos on our Future
was
Games
it.
Show Steam page. And head on over to GamesRadar.com for more follow-up coverage on all of the games.
Kind of an
that we've
underwhelming
seen
trailer to end on.
I'd like to say a big thank you to everyone involved in this year's Future Games show, powered by Mana, and, of course, you guys watching at home.
Very.
And I'm Denise Goff.
But they always do that. Like, I feel like half the time they go out with, like, a 30-second thing.
Yeah.
It used to be that, like, for E3 or whatever, right? It would end with, like, the biggest name.
Yeah, that was definitely like Xbox and Sony's kind of MO.
It's lights
Which,
out
you know,
and away we go.
I think we'll see that tomorrow with Xbox's show. They still, like even last year, I feel like they've still been pretty good the last few years about just like trailer. Here's a big one, and then actually ending with something pretty big.
Yeah, although, like, for me, I'm like, I know that from years past, there have been times where it's, like, been severely disappointing, right? So I'm like, it might actually, if I were doing it, if I were making a show, I'd be like, you know what, let's not do the whole big thing at the end. Let's just do the games as they are. Let the people be hyped about what is actually worth the hype, you know what I'm saying, what they like. As opposed to, like, this is the feature event, and da-da-da, and then it's like, you're putting in, like, in this situation where, like, if people don't like what they see, it's like, boo. There were some good-looking games in this presentation, I'll be honest.
Yeah, there are a couple really, really interesting ones.
I did, like, not Matrix there. Dude, but I'm be honest, that swarm looks very, very Matrix-y, like.
Yeah, super Matrix-y. That was definitely like a visual reference when they were making that game. snowballs. Oh god.
Is there any more today?
I don't think so. That might be it.
Mana is the gaming rewards debit card that puts the power back in the hands of players.
That's
so
all
with
I've
every
got
quest
on
you
my
complete
list.
and every purchase you make,
Alright
you're
then.
earning
Well,
for the rewards you actually
I have to go
want.
mode 1.
We make it easy for you to
Some
set
shit,
up
but
and
if you want to play some Rocket League later, I'll give you, and I'll have my own lawn and shit like that. I'll give you time to play it.
Yeah,
I know you're really into it.
So why pay any
If you just want like a palate cleanser,
with
you know what I'm saying?
Pay with
Sure, I'm gonna need to
Mana.
take a break here a little bit. I need to like walk my dog and shit.
Cool. I'll hit you up in a little bit then.
Alright.
Alright, later, brother.
Later. Yes, I'm talking about you.
Welcome back to GameSpot's coverage of Summer Game Fest 2022. We just got done watching Future Game Show.
It's like a registered sex offender.
I'm Kurt Davina, your host, joined with Devontae Chisholm.
Hey everyone. Have you ever...
Mute them and go back to Wash.
This is very funny from Ben Shapiro, a person who is allergic to using any kind of statistical backing for his arguments. So, what Ben Shapiro just said is essentially illiteracy. I don't know if he was speaking in tongues there. That doesn't mean anything. Religion fell apart, so people turned to logic, but logic didn't give them meaning, so now they like anti-logic. What the fuck are you talking about? It's funny because the organizations that Ben Shapiro spends his life railing against are organizations that are rooted in rationalism. Ben Shapiro is the one who believes fundamentally that his feelings overwrite facts, that in spite of the overwhelming data in favor of, say, the existence of systemic racism, his personal belief that it doesn't is what takes precedence, which is why, of course, when he makes videos on these highly empirical subjects, he doesn't cite statistics, he doesn't cite sources, he doesn't address the sources provided by his opponent. He is a very fast-talking, very irrational person. And it's funny to me that from his own analytical framework, he would turn to anti-rationalism when apparently religion should be all he needs to get meaning.
The other thing that ideology does, and the radical leftists are also very good at this, is that it provides you with a convenient locale for the existence of evil. And so, if you reflexively identify the patriarchy with evil, well, first of all, that's a powerful idea. It independent of its broad merit.
We're seeing more feelings right now, by the way.
Now, it's not the only truth, and it's not the complete truth, but it's true. The reason it's true is because every hierarchical system tends to degenerate in the direction of power.
You degenerates.
Okay. Jordan Peterson is not a philosopher, and it's incredibly evident when he actually tries to talk about stuff like this. His self-help advice is acceptable, but oh my god, every hierarchy degenerates into power? What do you say? What is a hierarchy if not power? What are you talking about? And what feminist analysis begins with the axiom that patriarchy equals evil? Remember when he was supposed to debate Slavoj Žižek and he read the Communist Manifesto, which isn't even Marxian theory? He just skimmed like the top 10 points and he was like, well, the Marxist believes that all the proletariat are good and all the bourgeoisie are evil, and that if you just switch them, things would be fine. But like, it never is any such thing said. It's like a complete misreading of the text that a child could overlook. I don't think very much of Jordan Peterson.
All hierarchical systems are less than they could be. And that's partly because of the possibility that power and deceit will corrupt them, but also partly because we're willfully blind and deceitful in our own personal lives. And so when you tell young people that the cause of the trouble they see around them in the world, and maybe even the disquiet in their own heart, is the malevolent inadequacy of their society, that rings true. and they don't hear the rest of the story, you know, and it's the rest of the story that I've been trying to tell. They don't hear the story that, yeah, don't forget about the evil and corruption that exists in your own heart.
So Jordan Peterson is imposing a dichotomy here that doesn't exist. This is an argument that he likes to make. He says, oh, sure, there's evil in society, and you're so quick to point it out, you've forgotten the evil with it. That's not the case. Chat, have you ever been told by a proponent of intersectional analysis, or a Marxist or a leftist or what have you, to never work on self-improvement? Have you ever heard that in your lives? Because I certainly haven't. In fact, if you go into leftist communities, you'll find that they're obsessed with self-improvement. Maybe by metrics that Jordan Peterson wouldn't necessarily approve of. You know, they're all trying to gape their assholes wider with bad dragon dildos, and I respect their journey. But I have never in my life heard, like, the mantra that, like, you shouldn't engage in self-improvement. The only thing I can think of that comes even close to that is when, like, girl bosses are telling other girl bosses that they're perfect the way they are. But that's been happening for, like, 1 billion years, okay? That's been happening for a long, long time, okay? Maybe it's true that there are a lot of, like, 12-year-old leftists online who just want to, like, lay in bed all day or whatever, and you can kick them in the ass, sure. But the idea that the problem with society... he's Martin-Baileying a little bit, too. Jordan Peterson is making it sound like he doesn't have an issue with systemic critiques when that's a lie. He just said, I don't mind when they make these critiques, but they've forgotten the evil with it. That's not true. He does mind when people make those critiques. Him and Ben Shapiro are both of the same cloth in here, you know? They're like, oh, conceptually, we don't have a problem with addressing systemic critiques, you know? Systemic critiques like anti-white racism, anti-Republican bigotry, you know, anti-Zionism, that kind of thing, you know, anti-white male bigotry, these big systemic critiques that we should address. And then when you actually look at the data and find out that's not substantiated in reality, you know, you have like the say systemic racism against black people, then they say, oh, no, you should be focusing on within black people. The evil is within you. Like, you know? It's basically a way of dismissing the concerns of civil rights organizations. It's not a new one, by the way.
And don't forget about the fact that nature, this wondrous goddess as portrayed by the anti-human environmentalists, and by that I don't mean all environmentalists, by the way, that wonderful goddess nature is also trying to make you ill and kill you at all times. And so...
Is it ableist of me to make fun of him for saying nothing after all the brain damage he suffered? What? Should I? It's not problematic, right?
But the story that corruption exists in hierarchical structure, and that's a consequence of malevolence, the malevolent use of power and deceit, that's true. So it's very motivating, especially if you're young and you're looking for an adventure. Now, it's also too convenient, which is one of its tremendous dangers, because unless you're taught to look within and identify the malevolence there as the primary moral obligation, then you now have an excuse and a moral justification to take out all of your negative emotion, your hostility, your resentment, everything about you that's...
He takes forever to say the most obvious shit. Yes, okay, he's saying that just because you can levy systemic critiques, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't also try to engage in self-improvement. He's been saying this for like 5 years now. Are people not tired of hearing it? Nobody disagrees. It's also very patronizing, the idea that, like, everybody with a systemic critique of society must actually have some deep-seated personal problem. Pardon me if this is inconsiderate, but it comes off a little bit like projection from Jordan B. Peterson, considering his drug abuse problems and all the stuff that he kept secret for years while he wilted away. Like, not everyone is in that state, you know? The implication being levied by Peterson here is that, like, all your Black Lives Matter activists or whatever secretly have personal problems they need to levy. Now, there are some people watching who are going to say, that's not what he's saying, he hasn't specifically said that at all. To which my response is, Jordan Peterson never specifically says anything.
Right.
Ever. Jordan Peterson never says anything except by implication. He never actually comes out and directly makes a political point. All he does is just ask questions in a very obvious direction where there's only one possible conclusion that you can arrive at. You know? As Zizek pointed out, Peterson's activism itself refutes Peterson's look-inside stance. Yeah, Peterson has said don't try to change the world unless your house is in order, but Peterson went ahead and tried to change the world while his house was extremely not in order, which leads me to believe he doesn't actually believe in the stuff that he says. It's not a good look when self-help gurus violate their own ethical code to an extreme extent like that. And it makes me wonder, like, does he actually believe that all these civil rights activists, progressives, and postmodernists really need to work on stuff within, or does he just want them to shut up? And by work on problems within, does he mean by arbitrary metrics that they don't agree with? Like, he would look at some feminist girl with, like, tats and colored hair, and Jordan Peterson would say, you clearly aren't well enough to critique the so-called evil patriarchy until you address whatever emotional problems are causing you to look like that. Like, that sounds like something that he would say, right? Because he's argued that millennials and people who are suffering from the decay of liberalism find a lack of meaning in their lives, and they engage in these signifiers to compensate for it. I mean, people have been doing crazy fashion stuff for hundreds of years, thousands of years, so I don't know. I don't think that's a very good argument, personally, but it seems like it's just a way to make people shut up, frankly.
Unexamined on the demonic enemy. And, of course, that degenerates with extraordinary rapidity, as we've seen over and over and over. So it's up to the centrists on both sides to deal with this. I've been talking to
the centrists on both sides, from Ben Shapiro and Jordan B. Peterson. You know, just the it's up to us centrists. But that's what they want to do. That's the lie they want to sell you. They're not making any strong political prescriptions. They're decrying this extremism, this lack of meaning, this unwillingness to adopt nuance in their critiques of the world on both sides, except they'll only ever talk about it from the left, you know? Or actually, I wonder, sometimes they will signal at poor behavior from the right, but it'll be the most extreme example of that behavior. So like Ben Shapiro might mention Charlottesville, and that'll be contrasted against the entirety of Black Lives Matter, the largest civil rights protest that has ever taken place in American history, you know, with tens of millions of participants. And it'd be like, yeah, these two things where people were being equally unreasonable.
To a lot of the optimist rationalist types on my podcast, Matt Ridley and Bjorn Lomborg and Haidt and Pinker, more distantly, but more recently, Lomborg and Ridley and Marion Tupy, who
does
who's
sound
written a
like he's
lovely
not
book
all there.
on human progress, 10 things everyone needs to know about human progress. It's something like that, huh? Anyways, one of the things we discussed consistently was the difficulty in promoting the message that all three of these men are very aware of, which is that from a material perspective, in terms of absolute privation, worldwide, humanity is way better off on virtually every dimension you could possibly measure than ever. And most of that improvement has occurred in the last 40 years, and it's...
This is another Mott and Bailey, by the way, that they like to throw out there really, 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 really often. It's funny, by the way, because this actually contradicts the basic message that Jordan Peterson tries to sell, that the cultural degeneracy of the past couple of decades has led to people lacking in a sense of purpose that has been destructive to Western civilization. See, they simultaneously say the West is crumbling due to postmodernism, but then they say, hey, communists, socialists, racist people, anti-racist people, things are better than ever. Why would you complain about racism? Things are better than they ever have been, you stupid idiot. They have to adopt both of these positions simultaneously because it's a tenet of fascism. The belief that your society is the greatest one to have ever existed and that anybody who would decry it is delusional, and that your society is crumbling due to the influence of degenerates and foreign interlocutors, is a fundamental component, you saw it in Trump's rhetoric too, a fundamental component of fascist organization. Now, that doesn't mean these two are goose-stepping to and fro, though I wouldn't put it past them under the right circumstances. It just means that's the basic logic these types employ.
It's been revolutionary in its speed. And no one knows this.
Everyone knows this.
So it's very important to know...
Hello, Vosh, you really saying Peterson is a fascist? Yeah. Yeah, 100. Yeah, of course.
course he is.
He's a cultural conservative who preaches about degeneracy and uses the Nazi talking point of cultural Marxism as evidence that the West is crumbling. Yeah. The position that he pushes, yeah. Now, people think that, like, being a fascist means you have to be like a Charlottesville participant, okay? Like, you have to be out there and you have to be, like, with the swastika on your arm. That is not true at all. If fascism required you to be that obviously stupid, then there wouldn't be any fascist countries. There would have never been any fascist movements. In reality, the greatest perpetuators of fascism are not the lunatic Gestapo swastika on forehead types. They're the people like Jordan Peterson, the phony intellectuals who sit at home and they convince millions of young men that they're the ones who are going to be needed to prevent the cultural death of the West. That's kind of how it works, you know? And he doesn't talk about the strength of the state much. I think that's an important part of fascism. No, he just talks about the strength of the civilization and how the best way to defend that civilization is to attack the same groups of people that are already state enemies under a fascist government. So, I mean, he's a step removed. It's true that he doesn't go around screaming about how, like, America is the greatest nation to have ever lived or anything like that, though he kind of implies it a little bit with what he just said. But, I mean, you have to follow the logic that he pushes. Where do you think an average listener of Jordan Peterson is going to go after having listened to what he said? Do you think they're going to hear, postmodern Marxists are destroying Western civilization through their infiltration of academia, and the West is going to die unless a strong reactive force of cultural Christians come together and defend Western civilization? Like, where do you think they're going to go from that, right? Fascism and advocacy for fascism is a pretty broad range. If there are any people who disagree with me on this, then rather than thinking of the most hyperbolic fascist you can in your head and comparing that person to Jordan Peterson, think instead, do you think a fascist would take value from what Jordan Peterson has to say? Do you think a person whose positions are identical to a Charlottesville participant might listen to Jordan Peterson and think, hey, some of these positions are pretty agreeable? The main thing Jordan Peterson does that seems to deviate from the fascist line of logic is individualism. Jordan Peterson claims to be hyper-individualistic. But is he? He's constantly touting the importance of social meaning and Western civilization. And additionally, we already know that the preponderance of individualism in the skeptic community already pushes people towards fascism. Think Sargon of Akkad. That guy pushed himself as an individual, an individualist, for years. And now he's an ethno-nationalist. Does that make sense? Hopefully it makes a little bit of sense. Just my belief.
No, to try to think through why that is. Like, that's such a positive message. Now, I talked to Russell Brand about this, and I'm bringing him up for a reason. He's a lefty by temperament and by heart. And
nice.
His first objection, but he's very thoughtful and quick. His first objection, you know, I pointed out all this data showing that by every possible objective measure, everything is way better than it was certainly 100 years ago, but certainly even 20 years ago.
If this is the case, then why doesn't it put to rest all the fear-mongering that people like Jordan Peterson engage in, where they talk about the death of the West? What about, like, Bill C-16? Didn't Jordan Peterson spend his entire career talking about how if we didn't pay attention, the anti-free speech woke postmodernist mobs were taking everything away from us, that they were already doing it? Does this not completely undo all of that? Or is it perfect right now? It's best that it's ever been right now, but in like 2 days, it's going to be the woke PC mob controls everything. Where's the line exactly, you know? And also, how is this a counter-argument to the position of a lefty? Couldn't you say, yeah, things are better than ever before, but we can make it better? Like, how are those contradictory positions? I think they mean by living standards. Jordan Peterson said by every standard. I'm going to take him at his word here. He has a PhD, and he should be more careful with his language if that's not what he means.
Even on the environmental front, in the main. And he said,
how is the environment better now than 20 years ago?
Disparity of distribution. So there's the problem of absolute level of wealth, let's say. That's improving. But there is still tremendous disparity. And of course, that is fair enough. You could even point out that the role of the left is to provide a conscientious voice for that's constantly attending to the fact of continuing disparity regardless of absolute level of wealth. And fair enough, but
what was the Russell Brand argument?
Having said all that, it's a great mystery that incremental optimism is not sufficiently motivating. And
wait, what was the point of the Russell Brand segue? Did I miss a conclusion to the end of that? Yeah, was he just name dropping? One day, Jordan Peterson will name drop me for clout sharking. He'll be on Joe Rogan, and he'll be like, yeah, I talked to Vosh that one time. And Joe Rogan will be like, dude, really? We can't even get that guy on. And Jordan Peterson will be like, yeah, he had 5 minutes to fit in between his lunch break and playing Bloodborne Chalice Dungeons for 17 hours. It was a really enlightening conversation. I'm an anarcho-syndicalist now, right? Look at the future, yeah.
You can't just wish human nature is going to change. It's not going to change. We got to tell a better story.
What are we talking about?
And I also think that's why...
Wait. Who was talking about human nature? Wait, at what point, in what context was human nature being discussed? What do we mean here? The last thing that he mentioned was wealth disparity. Is there a human nature towards wealth disparity? What?
Target, I think, is because I am actually trying to tell a better story and I'm actually having some success with it.
No, you're not.
So I totally agree with that. And that really does bring us to the book, because one of the things that folks should know about all of your books is that they are very intimate, very personal. You talk about yourself, but you also speak in a way that most writers do not. You use second person pronouns. I mean, you speak directly to the reader. You say, you feel this way. You think.
This is cult shit, by the way. I'm sorry, okay? I don't have much respect for the self-help profession in general, but when you're, yeah, there are a lot of, Jordan Peterson and Elon Musk are similar in the sense that they're the surrogate daddies of a bunch of wayward loser guys who feel like an empty hole in their chest. But I cannot express to you enough how little a reverence of these men will do for you, okay? Like, absolutely none, okay? First of all, Elon Musk is a complete poser and does nothing for anyone, and at least Elon Musk actually makes shit. No, he doesn't. He buys companies that make shit. He hires engineers that make shit. And a lot of the shit that he hires engineers to make ends up being pretty stupid and ineffective anyway. The Tesla is an overpriced and under... Did anyone else see that Cody Johnson video? I mean, I'm just going to repeat points from there, but Elon Musk sucks on, like, every level. Anyway, with regards to Jordan Peterson, like, Jordan Peterson's role here, his road, is completely vacuous, okay? Jordan Peterson will teach you to engage in self-improvement, and that's good. Everyone should do that. Everyone should engage in self-improvement as much as you can. It's good to be self-improved. That's good. And I have read the first 12 Rules for Life. I haven't read the second 12 Rules for Life, and the first one was honestly pretty okay. But Jordan Peterson is not just the books he writes. The books are relatively agreeable. The lectures that he delivers, the political prescriptions he makes, are batshit. And what they do is they reveal his actual goal. He wants you to be another Christian conservative. It's not just about individualism. It's not about self-actualization. It's about listening to him and getting from him a set of political prescriptions that fall you in line with broader culturally conservative movements. That's it. And that is not a road that goes... That is not a road that will help you with regards to self-improvement. Because whether you like it or not, you live in a society. And as long as you live in that society, many of the problems in your life are just going to be tiny, tiny facets of larger problems that can only be solved systemically. I mean, God, don't the incels know this? Hey, guys, isn't dating culture kind of bad right now? Isn't it wild how, like, it's hard to date and, like, interactions between men and women are so difficult? Jordan Peterson talks about this. That's a systemic issue. That's not an individual issue. It's like, oh, if only 8 billion human beings chose to individually change their behavior, then we could fix this. No, that's not how it works. It's a systemic issue that can be addressed through cultural changes. The cultural changes Jordan Peterson will hint at, not suggest directly, but hint at, is women shouldn't be in the workplace, women should be barefoot and pregnant at home, men should be like the caregiver, or not the caregivers, the breadwinners, etc., etc. But, man, you ever read Death of a Salesman? Traditional gender roles did not make people happy, like, at all, okay? Like, not even slightly. if you want really good ways to like up your degree of social integration, here's what you should actually do, okay? Stop obsessing over internet gurus, go outside, participate in social events, talk to people without expectation. If you make friends, you can make friends. Some of those friends will end up being partners or lovers. That's awesome. Spend more time with your family. Go outside, touch grass, you know? And if you want to build a society that makes it easier to do those things, you know what does it even better than churches in an era of increasing secularization? Urban development. You should want cities to be integrated with mixed zoning so that you can go outside and go to a local cafe, not these alienating suburbs that stretch out for hundreds of square miles surrounding cities, not these massive highways that cut through any city areas, polluting the environment, leaving everyone to spend 40 minutes a day in their car for a commute. No. There are ways to fix these problems. There are solutions to these problems, but you won't get them from Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson can help you with some baseline self-improvement nonsense. Great, there are better places you can get that from, but he will move you away from some of the broader solutions to the alienation meaninglessness that a lot of people feel. You'll notice that suicide rates correlate heavily to suburbia. Why do you think that is?
Think this way. And a lot of people read that and say, I do think that way. This is a person who's speaking directly to me in a way that mainstream political books very often do not. They consider me sort of a widget in whatever ideology they're pushing, or they're considering the value of systems or not systems. But you sort of end around that. And I think that in many ways, that's what members of the left find so threatening, is because if you're a member of the left and you believe that all individuals are essentially just the outgrowths of institutions.
If Ben Shapiro was smart, you'd think he would be able to accurately represent the positions of his opponents, right? This is ridiculous. He and JP are like, well, the left say that individuals don't even exist, and actually we're all just components of a larger system with no individual agency or free will. That's why the left is actually the real racists, because they take a look at black people, and rather than seeing a bunch of individuals who just happen to be individually failing in very, very, very coincidentally similar ways all across the country, they actually see a broader institutional problem. They don't even see individuals, okay? They're just racist. Yeah, no. The idea that we are beholden to systemic problems and solutions, and that we are individuals with a responsibility for our own behavior, these are not incompatible. Chat, is that incompatible? There is nothing even remotely incompatible there.
And therefore, that all change by individuals is going to be insufficient, and that it must be societal change that creates individual change.
You can do both.
You're a threat, because you're telling people, well, the systems can certainly get better, but the main threat to you is you, and that is a deeply threatening message to people. And if people...
Hold on, that's a lie right there. Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro do not say the systems can get better. Anybody who promotes any solutions to existing social problems is met with a bombardment of bad faith arguments from the both of them. With Jordan Peterson's things have never been better, or Ben Shapiro's cringy PragerU intellectual tier, there was never any such thing as systemic racism after the passage of the Civil Rights Movement, or of the Civil Rights Bill. They do not want systemic critique, no matter what they say to you.
People find fulfillment in that message, then the left really does have a problem, because if people start improving their lives within the system and not blaming the system for their problems, and instead recognizing that they can improve their lives, that's what members of the left hate most of all. You talk about in the book, Jordan, the fact that people are constantly coming.
Isn't it interesting that Ben Shapiro right now is saying that antipathy towards society is what moves people to the left, but the entire Republican Party right now is organized around the idea that Trump was denied victory in the 2020 election, a myth that Ben Shapiro has pushed into in his own ways? A sense of victimhood is literally the glue binding the Republican Party together right now. Republicans don't actually have any underlying policy goals, which is why back one day before Trump left office, like 80% of the Republicans were in favor of the economy, and then the day Biden took office, now it's like 17%. Republicans don't actually, their positions and opinions on the political state of the world have nothing to do with reality and are based entirely around a constant sense of persecution. What about the January 6th attack on the Capitol? What about everything you do on your show, Ben Shapiro, where you complain about being under attack and you complain about what you would call a systemic issue? Those postmodernist, Marxist, progressive, BLM whatevers, you're complaining about a systemic issue, and you bring people over to the right by fear-mongering about those people. I would argue that people on the left, first and foremost, are pushed into believing what they believe out of a principled belief in improving the world holistically, and people on the right are the ones who look past individual problems and rather complain about perceived bigger slights. Which is the reason, by the way, why people like Steve Bannon, personal accompaniment to Donald Trump's presidential administration for a time, had a history of recruiting people to the alt-right by targeting incel and gaming communities, finding miserable people and using their misery to convince them that their solutions could only be found through, say, the rejection of postmodernism, multiculturalism, progressivism, feminism. Everything you claim the left does, the right does far more.
Coming up to you, and they're saying things like, you know, I was leading a dissolute life. I read your book, I started taking your advice, and I've turned it around, and now I'm doing much better in life. And, you know, I'm blessed to have much the same experience from a lot of people who listen to the show, people who have been homeless, who now have graduated Harvard Law School, people who were single moms and then decided to take a college course and figure out their lives, people who have made mistakes and turned their mistakes around. And to me, those are inspirational stories. I think that because those inspirational...
But the left would look at those stories and say, no, don't go to college and get a job and turn your life around. You're supposed to be on welfare and just complain about the system all day. No! Is he going to say that? He might say that, actually.
Stories exist. That, I think, is why people find you to be such a threat. It's because so many people are inspired by the stuff that you say.
What? No, he's implying it, yeah. Why people find you to be a threat? Because you convince people to go get night classes at college. Okay. I mean, I get emails like that all the time from people who are telling me that my videos inspire them to engage in self-improvement. So what are we to do with that? I mean, do we want to compare numbers as a proportion of our relative popularity? It's not a phenomenal metric.
And change their life individually without putting all of their ire and focus on a system that the left is mainly focused on tearing down.
Notice how earlier Ben Shapiro says there are ways the systems could be better, but now he describes it as the left tearing down the system. These people don't want any systemic critiques. Don't listen to their bullshit. Don't listen to their bullshit for a single fucking second. These people pretend to be amicable to the idea of a multidisciplinary approach to social problems, but the nanosecond you bring up a social problem, you'll be the one tearing it down. You're the one who's engaging in bad faith arguments. You're the one who's being a bigot towards Republicans. The exact same arguments that you see them making here will be made against you.
I defy anyone to go read 10,000 comments on my YouTube channels.
Already have. I've read all
and
three.
not come away with a much better...
Wait, is this actually a joke? Is this PhD actually going to say, look at my YouTube comments, you can tell my system works? Are we really...
With a much refreshed view of human nature.
What?
The comments are...
What about
in the
human
main,
nature? What are we...
Unbelievably positive. And not in a naive sense. They're positive in a thoughtful sense and in a communal sense, because...
Hold on one second. Let me just go to YouTube. Vosh Jordan Peterson. Here we go. Jordan Peterson is a pseudo-intellectual hack that's a year old. Actually, nearly 2 years old. Take a look. I'm at my old apartment. Here we go. Let's take a look at the YouTube comments. Damn. Looks like people agree with me. Oh, shit. Oh, shit! Oh, my God. Lobster Man. Damn. This is a very effective way of engaging an argument. Sort by new? Oh, no. We'll do it. I don't know if it will be as friendly. I would be grateful if you could elucidate us about how it's ridiculous to compare postmodernism with Marxism. I understand Marxism is primarily a critique of the Western capitalist system, but it would seem that critical theory is the application of Marxist methods of critique applied to all other aspects of society, that one can be exploited for more than just economic gain. Not wait, how long is this? Ugh. All right. Check the Daniel comment. I can't believe you said that. Now I can't take you seriously. Take a fucking flight. Shit, ask a Venezuelan about that. Uh-oh! 9:35. This is going to be the end of my career. This is getting included in the new video. What did I say?
Chavez's and Maduro's sort of continued legacy in Venezuela actually produced a pretty substantial rise in the quality of living over there. Not to mention the USSR modernized.
That was true before everything went to shit, wasn't it? It's been a while since I've talked positively about Venezuela, but as I understood it, before the big economic fucking brouhaha, there actually was a pretty substantial shit was going down like 2014. Yeah, I was referring historically. Yeah. I think so. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, but it went to shit. Yeah, but I don't think it went to shit because of fucking Hugo Chavez.
The people who are making comments on the lectures are also commenting on each other, and there's ideological babble on both sides. I would say that's probably 5% of the comments, and generally, I believe they're written by people who didn't actually watch the lecture because they're.
Are we? Wait. I'm sorry. I'm engaging in some pretty petty shit right now, but are we seriously saying, like, if you look at the YouTube comments, you'll find that people actually support what I say. Now, there are going to be negative comments, but those people never actually watch the video. Damn, and that's a really... Is this, this is, how you should... This is the future of defending your PhD, your doctoral thesis, you know? Throwing that out there. I released a live reading of my research onto YouTube, and as you can see, I have 7 comments. Now, 5 of those comments are positive, 1 of them is neutral, and 1 is negative. However, I have reason to believe the negative comment did not actually come from a person who fully watched my video. If you take a look at this line right here, where he talks about having sex with my mother, you'll notice this doesn't actually substantively critique anything contained within my work. I don't know if this person may have not even watched the first half, possibly. I don't mention sex with my mother until at least 3/4 in, and at that point, you'd think he would have given note to any of the many, conditions by which I explained the situation beforehand.
Often out of context, but in any case, 95% of the comments are thoughtful, but also extremely positive, which is very rare in a social media comment landscape, which tends to be very, very toxic.
What?
And so I think that's absolutely great, and it certainly has that impact on me when I read it.
But the comments are going to be mostly positive for any political figure. You can see that from a Nazi channel. I mean, unless you get brigaded from another channel, as long as you're making content that your audience expects, your comments are always going to be positive.
But then,
except for Abigail Shapiro.
Here's something else that I've observed in the media attacks that have been directed towards me. They're not just directed towards me. First they're directed to who they think I am, so that's kind of interesting.
What attacks?
But more than directed to me, and more perniciously, is that they're directed to those who are hypothetically following.
Sorry, your Peterson impression is not as good as Hassan's? Yeah, you know why? Because Hassan's voice is higher and whinier than Maya's. No shit he can do a better JP impression. Have you heard him talk? Yeah, of course, obviously, okay?
Me. Now, I don't regard myself as someone with followers. I regard myself as someone with viewers, listeners, and readers. And that's different. But in any case...
Jesus Christ.
My typical follower, so goes the story, is a disaffected...
This is really bad to watch, man. This guy is one of the most well-known conservative demagogues, and he's... My last video had at least a 96% like to dislike ratio. I don't like to call them viewers, more Socratic observers. Come on, man. JP, are you okay?
Affected, angry, young, white male.
Oh.
And for a while, I, in some sense, pushed back against that and said, well, my audience is about 70% male, but YouTube's...
Wait. Bullshit, your audience is 70% male. You yourself have tweeted out that it's like 95% male. Does anyone have that tweet? Jordan Peterson tweet male audience. Where is that? Oh, 91%. JP? I know this is from 2017, but I imagine that his demographic base is pretty much the same. I doubt he's tripled the female viewership since then. Why? Why so few women? I wonder why. Yeah. Maybe by women he includes beta males. I have a 70% alpha male ratio and 30% beta male ratio viewing my videos.
skews male, so that's perhaps part of the reason. And I see no evidence that it's particularly limited racially or ethnically, especially when I see my lecture crowds and when I meet people on the street. But
so apart from the fact that this is a really pathetic attempt at using idpull to deflect from criticism, I do think that it's not just white guys for Jordan Peterson. The reason Jordan Peterson is very, 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 very heavily slanted towards a male audience is because all the shit he says is like from a male perspective for men. Like his comments about women in the workplace and like men and meaning and how women are the chaotic dragon and women are darkness and men are the light and men is like, yeah, okay, wow. Women also try to find order in their lives, but from his philosophical perspective, women are like the beacons of darkness that you have to conquer in order to bring meaning to your life. It's really fucking weird. And if you actually read his like he does some little weird shit in there about ladies. Yeah, plus like you only wear lipstick to imitate the arousal of like nobody actually thinks that way, okay? Like even slightly, all right? Would Jordan Peterson like say that men shouldn't wear suits with padded shoulders in the workplace because they simulate a stronger V taper, thus implying a greater degree of physical fitness, and thus they're sexually enticing the people around them? No, Jordan Peterson would never make that argument about men wearing padded shoulder places in the workplace, because no, he wouldn't do that. Also, is it women's fault that they're literally expected to wear makeup in many workplaces? Like a lot of workplaces expect women to wear makeup. It's not, they're not doing it to like fuck all the people there. They're doing it because it's a social expectation, you know? JP fans would disagree that he said women shouldn't wear makeup. That is because Jordan Peterson is a coward and and it's infectious and his audience has gotten to too. Again, if you watch all of his segments, lectures, interviews, discourse, debates, whatever, Jordan Peterson is allergic to making a direct, prescriptive statement. He will ask questions. He will pick apart arguments that disagree with the thing he's implying, but he doesn't just flat out say it. It's the same reason why he is infamous for having followers who will ask you to look up all the context of all the shit that he said before you have any right to criticize him. It's because he's annulled and saturated every real point that he could possibly make with 80,000 pages of meaningless drivel designed to prevent people from holding him accountable for what he says. That's why he is the way he is. Your fans do that too. In fairness, the reason why that happens in my community is because people will very deliberately clip out of context shit that I say, designed to clip it out of context. And usually you guys saying, look at the context, is showing like the preceding and following 10 seconds of whatever it is I said. You know, that's a fairly direct process. You're not being asked to consume all the media I've ever produced. You're just being asked, hey, maybe don't look at this 3-second segment, look at the 30-second segment around it, which I think is more acceptable, you know? And even if that was a fair point, yeah, it doesn't excuse Peterson.
But then I started to realize that was the wrong response. The right response is, why does it disturb you so much? That there's a group of people who, by your own admission, are disaffected and angry and alienated.
Wait. Wouldn't them being disaffected and alienated be evidence of a systemic problem? Because he always argues about the individual solution, but if you're experiencing millions of people being systemically discriminated, alienated, disaffected... What are the faces that are being made right now? Oh, whatever.
And young, and I'm helping them. And why is that exactly a problem? What is it that I'm supposed to be doing with them?
Oh, he's mad.
Just out of curiosity. What do you think? If you had your druthers, would I ignore them? Would no one talk to them? Is that actually what you want? Well, the answer seems quite clear, that is exactly what's wanted. That's what's...
So this is very fallacious thinking on Jordan Peterson's part. It's if there are any JP fans still watching, then like you should be laughing at this. This is very below his potential intellectual capabilities. So first and foremost, no on so many levels. A, he is acknowledging the existence of systemic problems, and he, as a public figure, is a part of a systemic solution, potentially. He's advocating himself as a systemic solution while rejecting the concept of systemic social analysis. See, Jordan Peterson is a huge public figure,
if he's talking to millions of people, he actually does have the power to affect systemic solutions and problems. He has control over the discourse, at least to some extent. So the fact that he has some of that control means that his advocacies are themselves component to a systemic analysis of society. He just described a systemic problem. So he pretends that this is all an individual thing, but it's really not. If you're talking about millions of individuals having individual problems that are all exactly the same and being caused by larger social problems, that's systemic. Excuse me. Additionally, the idea that because people are criticizing him and they don't want him to address the alienation of these people, therefore, is ridiculous. What if he's just doing a bad job of it? Like, couldn't any cult leader make the same claim? I took all these people into my flock, and all I've heard since then from the media and the papers is nag, 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 criticism, criticism, criticism. You know, you all came here sad, and now you're happy. It seems like they don't want you to be happy. This is a completely not functional line of logic. That's not how that works. Anyway, those are just some very basic criticisms. I feel like most freshmen in college should understand why what Jordan Peterson just said is stupid.
It's held forth because there's this implicit assumption in all of this critique that in my very active aid, I'm doing something immoral. Immoral enough to be parodied, let's say, as Red Skull. So just what the hell's going on here? It's like, why is that now fodder for parody or slander? Precisely. I mean,
remember that this guy, so if this guy worries about being taken out of context, keep in mind this guy just front-facedly lies all the time. The C-16 shit was really clear. Do you guys remember that back in 2017? He was like, the government is gonna come, they're going to arrest you. They'll kill your children in the streets if you don't pronoun correctly. I would rather die. I'll live on my feet. I'll die on my feet rather than live on my knees. The postmodern neo. And nothing happened. Nothing happened. To this day, still, right now, the 11th of May, 2021, nobody has been arrested for misgendering anyone in Canada. Nothing has happened, but he gained millions of followers fear-mongering over it. It passed, nothing happened. Why aren't JBP fans pointing out this obvious lie? Do you not feel betrayed? That, like, many of you got on board with him because of the critiques, the fear-mongering that he levied that ended up being completely non-existent? Like, if I was in with somebody, like if there was a public figure I respected, and they made a career out of fear-mongering over something that didn't happen, I would really question my beliefs. I mean, like, it would be like getting in on board with, like, Alex Jones or something. Like, you know, and all the crazy shit he predicts that doesn't happen. Do you ever, like, think about it? You know? I believed him and I almost went down the alt-right pipeline because of it. Yeah, because he made it sound really scary, but he completely fucking lied. And he's never acknowledged it, by the way. Now, I'm pretty sure since then he said when questioned on it, well, it's only a matter of time or something like that. Yeah. That's not entirely true. That guy got arrested for misgendering his daughter, but that had literally to do with C-16. Wasn't that in America? And also, wasn't that because he violated a court order? That had nothing to do with C-16. Yeah, we're several degrees removed from C-16 doing anything.
Do you debate the fact
that was in Canada? Sometimes, yeah. But it was not because of C-16.
That I'm helping? Well, you go read the comments yourself and see what you think. And so then... And then...
You think I'm doing harm? Look at my YouTube comments. Couldn't a neo-Nazi make that argument? What are we... Anyone could make that. Socialists could make that argument. What are we talking about?
I thought about that a bunch too. I thought, well, what is it with men, the men that I'm
seriously
speaking to, let's say?
God,
why are they responding positively? Why do they come to my lectures, the biblical lectures even, which is very surprising, right? Because what the hell are men doing at a biblical lecture, especially young men, especially when they could go do anything else and they have to pay for it? It's like, what are they doing coming to this lecture? Well, if the patriarchy is an evil tyranny, then the appropriate attitude towards any male ambition...
Whoa, hold on. Again, this is really low IQ shit. Ya boy, is this your philosopher right here?
he's about to say something unfathomably dumb. I'm pausing the video in the hopes that I can like psychically alter the contents of this recording and make it less stupid, but it's not gonna happen, is it?
Is to not treat it as ambition, but to treat it as nascent drive to tyrannical power.
No. No, nobody, no public figure, feminine, whatever, are saying that men being ambitious is men being driven to tyrannical power. But guys, hey guys, you know why I call Jordan Peterson a fascist? Because he just made an argument you've all heard before. Anti-sexism is a code word for anti-male. Oh, if you reject the patriarchy and think it's evil, then you must think that all men's ambitions are actually a sign of tyrannical. Or, if phrased by another group of people, well, if you believe white supremacy is real, then you must believe all white men trying to live good lives is actually some kind of crazy anti-black... Where have we heard this logic before, people? From fascists. We've heard it before from fascists. It is the same logic. Oh, I'm not opposed to systemic critique, but when you do levy a systemic critique, such as the existence of male supremacy, the patriarchy, I will misrepresent it so severely that I will claim that you believe that any man succeeding or being ambitious on any labor is something that you believe is equivalent to tyranny. Thereby, your anti-hate movement is actually the real hate movement. But I'm totally fine with systemic critique, by the way. I'm not a fucking crackpot, by the way. I'm reasonable. You can tell I'm reasonable because I wear a suit, and I look like an affable, wealthy, older man, and because I speak in philosophical gibberish that upon further examination means little because my degree is in psychology and not philosophy, you can tell I'm reasonable. I'm not really far right. I don't know why people have issue with me decrying civil rights movements, saying the West is dying due to postmodern neo-Marxism, and that men need to reject feminism because it's a repudiation of human nature, and, you know, it's pushing them towards anti-male thought, and hey, you know, if you take that logic, it seems like BLM's doing kind of the same thing, and hey, maybe if you think about it a little longer, maybe, yeah, you know, this is a white man's country, and this is a Christian country, if you really think about it, and I don't see any reason why things, back in the day, had to change as much as they ended up doing. The 1965 Immigration Act, the Hart-Celler Act, did end up having a pretty significant effect on America's demographics that did coincide with the induction of postmodern neocolonial Marxism into America as a product of the Frankfurt School. And yeah, now that you mention it, there is a pretty strange ethnic and religious bias in the academics that keep pushing those ideas, and I think you get the point. There's a good reason why people accuse Jordan Peterson of being a fascist. Nothing that I just said, by the way, is really that much of a logical extension of the arguments that he's already made. It's just a matter of what he's already willing to say. I have a feeling that in a more radically right society, he would probably move quite a bit further to the right in what he advocates for. Does anyone disagree with that? You understand the logic I'm putting forward here, right? All of the justifying frameworks that he's built here work to push for a fascist agenda. Even if he personally doesn't believe all the things that I just said, the logic, the underlying mechanisms, the rejection of progressivism, the attribution of conspiracy and bigotry to civil rights movements, it's indicative. Hasn't Jordan Peterson vehemently criticized the Nazis? Haven't most American Nazis? Have not all fascists? What do you mean by that? Is that the metric we're going to use now? Go to Charlottesville, ask how many of them condemn the Nazis. I bet you'll find quite a few of them disavowing the actions of Hitler, you know? It's not about whether or not he's a Nazi. It's about whether or not the logic he employs furthers fascist aims. He's a public figure. I don't give a fuck what's going on in his head, his very damaged head. I care about what he does to other people. Yeah, but he gave hours-long lectures about the dangers of fascism because he compared fascism to collectivism, or what was it called? Collectivism. What's the term? No, it's collectivism, right? Yeah. Also, plenty of people who push for fascist ideas have
condemned fascism. Sargon of Akkad being an example. Like, are we really doing this again? How long do I have to have this YouTube channel before we have to stop having this discussion? You know? Jesus. Yeah, I'm totally not on board with Jordan as a fascist take. He's been outspoken many times against it. Then it's a good thing that I didn't say Jordan Peterson is a fascist. I said that well, sorry, wait, hold on. Then it's a good thing sorry, I thought you said Nazi there. I do think Jordan Peterson is a fascist because I believe a fascist is a person who pushes for politically fascist ideals, which he does. But you don't have to be on board with every element of the end goal of every fascist government in order to push for fascist ideals. There are plenty of people who call themselves like radical centrists who push for fascist ideals. Is this like a spectacularly difficult thing to understand? What a bullshit thing to say, oh my god. Oh, we can address this for 2 minutes, that's okay. And then you're all going to get banned. Okay, so, hold on. So I'm not a fucking idiot. My IQ is greater than the current temperature of the room that I'm sitting in. So I understand that when people push for given ideas, the impact that they have with that advocacy is more important than what is personally going on in their head. So for example, do you guys think, let's roll back to a previous point from the stream, that Yang personally, morally believes that he is pro-genocide? Do you think that Andrew Yang, because of that tweet that he sent out, is like, yes, morally I am in favor of genocide? Of course not. Absolutely not. But he is pushing for genocide advocacy by framing the Israeli-Palestinian conflict the way that he is. And because he's a public figure, to whom millions listen, I don't give a fuck what's going on in his head. At all. I do not care what's going on up in here. I care about the consequences of the words that you speak. Now, I notice that a lot of people in chat are very fixated on the labels here, rather than the actual ideas or arguments or forms of logic that are being pushed. This is again because you're very low IQ, but I'm here to help you. Maybe I won't even ban you, okay? The label is a useful signifier to a broader set of ideas, but I explained in what I consider to be a decent amount of detail the reasons why I believe Jordan Peterson's arguments push people towards fascism. Now, as far as I'm concerned, he's got a millions-strong audience. That means he pushes for fascism. As far as I'm concerned, that means he's a fascist. I think most Republican voters are fascist. Even if you ask your average Republican voter, do you believe in fascism? Do you believe in Nazism? They'll say no. And then you'll ask, do you believe that Donald Trump should have won the 2020 election? And they'll say, yes, actually, I believe that all of media and academia are corresponding to destroy white America, Christian America, and that we need a strong leader to crack down on dissonance and crime. We also need an isolationist government to prevent foreigners from coming in here. Like, well, I'd call that person a fascist, but they wouldn't call them a fascist, and I don't particularly care what they'd call themselves. Now, if you don't like the label, that's fine, we can drop it, but the fact that you're jumping to the label instead of dealing with the arguments reveals that you might be avoiding some uncomfortable truths here, in my opinion.
Which is certainly what Foucault would recommend, for example, or Derrida.
No, Foucault and Derrida, jumping on that previous point, have never said that men who are ambitious are actually tyrants. Why?
Because it's all power. And so if you see some young man...
Wait. It's all power doesn't mean being an ambitious person means you're a tyrant. What? Why doesn't he understand any of the philosophers he cites? He doesn't know. Jordan Peterson fans, can you justify this? He doesn't know.
Trying to stand up and better himself in any dimension, you're not going to trust that. You're going to identify that as the manifestation of tyrannical power.
And again, he legitimately seems to believe that Foucault argues that any person being ambitious means they're a tyrannical manifestation of power. This isn't just a misreading of Foucault. He's never read Foucault. He doesn't know. He doesn't understand. Wouldn't your average radlib be a socialist by your logic then? If you can define a radlib for me, then I'll give you an answer, but I don't think anybody has a consistent definition on that one.
And clearly, if the patriarchy is a malevolent tyrant, then any sign of the desire to contribute it to it should be at minimum.
How is a man being ambitious a contribution to the patriarchy? What? What is the logical extension there? I'll tell you what the logical extension is. It's another element of anti-sexism is a code word for anti-male. The argument that he's making right now, fundamentally, is that you should be pro-patriarchy as a man, because if you're not, then you're in favor of a bunch of tyrannical feminist harpies who believe that you're being unethical merely for being confident or for being self-assured or for being ambitious in your life. That's the argument being made right now.
Not encouraged, but more subtly criticized and discouraged at every possible opportunity. And that's our culture.
Jesus.
If you enjoyed this.
Yeah, anyway, I feel like he's actually mentally degenerated quite a bit. I hate to have a Destiny take, but it's important to delineate a neo-Nazi from a brain-dead conservative who just wants less taxes. It's a good thing I delineate those two. Then. Yeah. Maybe when he says Foucault, he's referring to people who follow Foucault's philosophical framework and less than what Foucault himself actually believed. First of all, no. He directly said Foucault, not Foucault's followers. And second of all, even if he actually did believe that, he would still be wrong, because nobody believes that. Nobody believes that. His arguments are completely vacant. They don't make sense. The stuff that he's saying does not make sense. The arguments that he makes are self-contradictory. Even if you came into that video without being a leftist or a liberal or a progressive or whatever, a reasonably intelligent Christian conservative should be able to identify some very, very obvious internal contradictions in the logic that he presented. But they don't, because Jordan Peterson does not promote critical thought, he promotes dogmatism. And his audience, desperate as they are, follows along. Because, well, I don't know. Whatever's up with you, I guess. Yeah, the debate video is up here for as long as it lasted. When I have my little ear condom, you see. Well, a study of decadence when societies commit suicide. Why not? Yes. We go now to the classic. Paintings of the Romans to make a point about the fall of Rome. Let's go. Let's go. I love it. A very historically informed perspective that has not been done billions of times before by people with no education.
Hey everybody, welcome. So today we are going to have a very special guest, Jason Unruhe. It's going to be
The first 5 minutes are a repeat, but we're doing it anyway.
One of a debate.
It's at 1.25 times speed.
So this should be fun. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification.
My first thought is, why the hell would anyone want to work for a job that wanted to discriminate because of your name anyway? And
what kind of response is that? What? How can it be systemic racism if you wouldn't even want to work for the people who are systemically racist? What is that? Sorry, I just felt a couple of synapses fire in a really painful way. I actually felt... Yo, holy shit, one of them just ricocheted off my skull. There's like collateral damage from that one. Jesus Christ. Impromptu debate, Gothics versus Hunter fight. Absolutely. Throw it out there. Hunter has come such a long way. I just want to say, by the way, like, I know I say this every time, like a total simp, but so proud of Hunter. Hunter, like, took a big channel hit moving from conservatism, because he's, like, such an authentic dude, you know? And I feel like he's done such a good job with it, because he's, rather than do this, like, awkward, like, attempt at sort of, like, gradually keeping the same content while moving over, he committed to it, you know? He's like, yep, this is where I am now. You motherfuckers don't like that, you can leave the channel, that's fine, I'm doing this now. And I think he's gotten, like, better at it. He's got more, like, attention doing it. Like, or it's growing, it's developing. I think that's really cool, in my opinion, personally. Anyway, impromptu debate, Gothics versus Hunter fight. Let's go. Gothics is kind of like a double agent a little bit, because she's the most SJW looking conservative I'm aware of in the YouTube space. So let's see how that works.
You keep interrupting people.
Well, okay, go ahead. Please continue making your point.
So why do we have two?
So anyways, as I was saying, less than 24 hours later, you're going...
Oh, okay, I see. These cams are both live feeds. Okay, so this is a live debate. We just have two. Should I... Wait, hold on. Sorry, Hunter. I don't know how my viewers do it. But there's only one Hunter today, and it's the one that I'll be blocking an 1/8 of.
On TikTok, you splice things together, and you call me a conservative. And that tells me you don't know me. You don't know my positions. You don't know my arguments, because I have never in the existence of making YouTube content referred to me as a conservative. So how are you coming to that conclusion, Hunter?
Sure. So based on your video that you made about identity, I have no responsibility to validate your identity or the way that you perceive yourself. Also, you should really not be taking any, you know...
Oh, dude, look at her face. She might have Demon Mama beat. That's quite the reflective,
confidence in how other people are referring to you. After all, this is exactly what you said in your video about identity when it came to trans people. You said, it's not my responsibility.
Okay, I feel bad for blocking Hunter. Can I, like, block here? There we go. Looking into... There we go. Nice. Now we're like buddies. We're like doing it together. Alright, there we go. Oh, by the way, like, Gothix is a conservative. Here's some YouTube stuff, right? Oh wait, I'm blocking that now. Dave Chappelle's jokes aren't transphobic. Oh, here's her saying, obsessing over Trump stopped me from using my brain. Interesting. Anti-vax is not the same as anti-mandate. Who cares if it's a black-owned business? Chatting with Lady MAGA. Safe spaces aren't a reality. It's all live streams. The Grift, Feet with Gothix. I don't know. Like, everything I've seen from her seems like conservative shit. Drag queen story time is bad. Harmful rhetoric isn't harmful. The trans, quote, agenda, how to win the culture war, anti-critical race theory. This is the video where she says that I'm afraid to debate her, but she's afraid to debate me. They want to brainwash your kids. Not black enough. I don't know, like, yeah. Why no one should get an N-word pass, even black people. That's good. Black victim to black victor. I don't know. Tom McDonald canceled reaction. Oh god. Okay. Are black people ready to talk about race hustlers? Okay. Yeah, alright.
Responsibility to validate anyone else's identity or how they perceive themselves and respect their labels, and I would say the same to you then. So I'll call you a conservative or really whatever I want, because again, what you said is it's no one's responsibility to validate another person, and it's not my responsibility to validate you.
Damn.
Second of all, you lied in your video, or not, I'm sorry, not in your video, but you claimed that I deceptively edited that TikTok when I did not. I simply shortened it down because I can only post 3 minutes, but I watched the full clip first to make sure, and I left out no context. Everything that was shown on TikTok was completely accurate.
Okay, well, that's a lie. But let's go back.
How is it a lie?
I want to touch... Hold on. I want to touch on the fact that you said it is not my job to represent you or whatever. First of all, I think you're getting the term
I like how me having my camera here kind of makes it look like I'm judging her, because like my face is naturally turned towards her, you know, like I'm weird champing her live, but it's not live.
The term validation and misrepresenting, as well as encouraging different, because I saw your little argument where you said that well, you don't want to do this towards kids. If you have a kid, you don't want to validate them. No, I will encourage my child. If my child says, I want to be an astronaut, I will encourage my child. I'm not going to validate their existence. You know you're alive, and we're talking about adults, grown-ass adults.
We're talking about like kid
validated for how they identify. That ain't my job. That's no one's job.
You're asking me to do the same thing, though.
To your point, where you said that it's not your job, it's not your business, as someone that has a platform, and again, listen, I love capitalism, I love people making their money, doing whatever they want to do to make your money. You obviously like the fighting aspect, that way of making money. That's not really my thing, but in any case, I would be so cognizant about how I address people in a public space to not intentionally misrepresent them. It would be one thing.
Would you misgender someone? What if they said that like they identified as a woman? What if they were biologically male but they identified as a woman and they asked to use she, her pronouns? Would you respect them?
If someone, no.
So why not?
Respect is earned. Respect is earned.
Wait, what? Respect is earned, but also how dare you label me as a conservative, as a person you don't respect? What? She's not particularly bright, is she? I can say that, even though I imagine she identifies as a bright person, because I don't respect her. Also, yeah, smartest conservative. Also, the trans thing doesn't really have anything to do with respect. That's not... It's more of like an ideological thing. It's not... It's all down here from Hill for her. It's all down here... Oh my god, what the fuck? It's all down here. We can't go to Tim Pool's again, guys. Whatever IQ dampening field they've got going on over there is way the fuck too strong for me. The Tim Pool fucking brain drain. The CIA cognitive decline satellite, you know? Right now in orbit, in geosynchronous orbit, like 45 trillion miles above Earth. There's a satellite pointed directly at me, and it's slowly pulling the neurons out through my skull.
Hello, nice to meet you. Please and thank you. That is a common, the basic foundation for respect.
Even in your video, though, you acknowledged, though, excuse me, in your video, you acknowledged, though, that pronoun usage was absolutely part of showing respect. You deliberately said that part of respect is saying please and thank you, ma'am. You mentioned the pronouns. You brought that in.
No. Pronouns, male and female. These aren't pronouns. This is reality.
Wait, ma'am is a pronoun. Male and female is a sexual characteristic.
And this is
These are two different things.
male and female for the
Ma'am is technically an honorific, not a pronoun, but yeah.
For all of existence, male and females. We're adding all of these different labels to things, but this is not reality.
Well, hold on. This is the disagreement that we're having here, and I think that you're not quite understanding, and that's okay because I didn't understand this for a long time either. But it's not about like, for example, trans people. Okay, if someone's biologically male and they identify as a woman, they do not think that their biological penis magically becomes a vagina. They are aware of the fact that they differentiate a little bit biologically there. And that realization manifests itself in gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria is the uncomfortable mental illness associated with being trans, where they are painfully aware that there is a misalignment between their body and their gender identity. So no one is actually advocating to change anyone, or no one's saying that males and females is wrong or whatnot. They're simply saying that there's a difference between sex and gender. There absolutely is.
Didn't Gothics just kind of acknowledge that by saying that, like, pronouns are added on to sex? Didn't she just say, like, yeah, all this stuff is, like, made up and added onto? Like, so, like, clearly delineates the distinction between sex and gender that... Yeah.
I get what you're saying. I understand that. I hear you. But we're talking about assimilation and we're talking about acceptance. We're talking about two different things. If I see a guy that visibly looks like a dude and he calls himself a woman, he says, "Can you please use this pronoun?" I am not at liberty to. I'm not obligated.
What
to
if
do
they're
that.
dressed like a woman? So like, but the medical. So for example, but it does. So the medical.
Well, nobody's saying she's obligated to, right? Only that people can judge you for not doing it. You're not obligated to do anything. It's not a law.
No, it does because
Hold on. Who was you transitioning for? Are you transitioning for yourself, or you are transitioning for other people?
Well, usually if you identify a certain way, hold on, wait, Gothics, wait. When there are people identifying a certain way, it only follows that the reason you're identifying that way is because you also wish to be identified that way by broader society, first and foremost. Second of all, the medical consensus in this issue is literally that if you are suffering from gender dysphoria, you take steps to socially transition. So this idea that some big muscular dude is just walking around saying, "Call me a woman or else," is just very much a straw man. It does not happen very frequently. Most of the time, we just have people that are trans and they are literally following the medical advice by socially transitioning. And that's why I said in my video that pronouns are ultimately a form of utility. If someone is wearing a dress, has long hair, and goes by a feminine name and wears lipstick and they're trans and they're identifying this way, it makes way more sense from a utility sense to just refer to them as a she, her, rather than there's that guy over there who's actually trans, but they're like, that doesn't...
Even Ben Shapiro acknowledged this, right? When he was talking with Blair White, not that he actually like changed his position or anything, but when he was talking with Blair White, he acknowledged that there's far more socio-utility in referring to trans women as women, like referentially, because otherwise you would have to walk through so many. Like if you saw like fucking, you know, Blair White in a public setting, and you're like, "Oh, hey, yeah, look at that guy over there," and people are like, "What guy?" And you like point to Blair, and you're like, "Oh, him." And they're like, they like turn around, they're like looking to see if there's a guy behind Blair White. Who? The guy right there. Like it's like you're saving quite a lot of time. You're truly deferring to reality by using the wrong pronouns there.
It makes sense.
Okay, let me say it from this perspective. I do not give a shit what anyone identify as. I don't care.
Then I don't give a shit what you identify as. So then you shouldn't. You just asked me not to call you a conservative, and you identify as politically homeless, and I'm not going to respect that.
I'm asking you to stop misrepresenting me.
When you stop misrepresenting trans people as their wrong pronouns and wrong gender, I will 100% follow your wishes.
Is she being real? Now, because I am friends with so many people in the trans community that do not subscribe to this nonsense of asking people to adopt to the way that you see yourselves. The trans people that I know, I can call them a man or a woman, and they're fine. They'll not skip a beat. They'll go about their day.
Great,
so
I guess.
Why can't that be the standard, and instead we resort to saying that's transphobic?
Well, I have a lot of friends that are politically homeless, and
you just shut up and listen.
You've been talking for the last.
God, huge Karen energy. Holy shit.
It's like 15 seconds here. I thought it was okay for me to
show. It's my show.
Wait, hold on. Is this like a possession thing? Look at her face.
It's my show. I'm trying to I'm trying to meet you midway. Honestly, Hunter, I don't like this back and forth. I really don't. I have never made a video dedicated to one specific YouTuber. I have been on the defense since I started making content.
You honestly dodged a bullet? Yeah, holy fuck. If I had known, like, I don't actually have a cross anywhere in my house, so I was utterly unprepared to debate her, you know? I don't have, like, the tool set necessary. Getting ready for my Gothics debate in the fucking Phasmophobia van, choosing which equipment I'm going to select. Jesus Christ.
I do not enjoy this. This is not productive.
Can I? Okay, well, if you want me to leave, that's fine, but can you just...
leave.
Well, you just said you didn't like this conversation, so what am I supposed to take from this? I also wanted to ask Starsan how she thinks that I have become far more emotional since walking away from the right. My positions have only largely grown in, like, basis in, like,
Hunter is way less.
So I would like to know how I am more emotional now.
Here's what I will tell you first, Hunter. I followed you a long time ago, back when I was much less noticing of what is on YouTube. I'm gonna clarify a few things.
Oh, by the way, this is something that I heard on Twitter, but apparently Gothics only agreed to have this discussion if the third person in here, the moderator, I'm pretty sure she's an employee of Gothics's. I think this is the manager. Like, the third person... Like, Gothics would only do this if the moderator was a person who literally worked for her. So... you know. Where's the mod? Where are they? They're the ghost that's possessing Gothics. That's why you can't see them.
Misunderstanding about what Gothics is saying, and even Gothics and I don't agree to a total point on this, is she's not saying she will refuse point blank to ever refer to someone as a preferred pronouns. What she's saying is she is not going to give that respect to someone that she neither knows and that doesn't know her, and will just walk up to her and say, you have to address me like this because it makes me feel good. I don't know you from a hole in the wall.
And she's saying the same thing about me addressing her as conservative.
No, she is not. It's a difference. What you're saying is that this is a conservative that you own. And all she's saying is, if you're going to talk about me being a conservative, this is not a conservative. I am just someone out there. But at the end of the day...
Wait, can they literally not reconcile the hypocrisy present here? Can they actually not realize? It's like the Patrick Wallet meme. Hunter, I sympathize with you. Listen, if you've seen that goddamn episode of SpongeBob, okay? What's the villain's name? Rayman? It is very frustrating to be the Rayman in the Patrick Wallet analogy, okay? Man Ray, thank you. It is incredibly frustrating to be the Man Ray.
We don't care what you call us. We really don't.
So what are some ideas that Gothics agrees with on the left? Gothics, what are some ideas that you agree with the left?
I'd be so happy to hear them. I don't generalize ideas on the left because I realize.
So what are some ideas that are generally lefty?
So you tell me. We probably have a lot more in common than you think, but we're never gonna get to that point if this is if you're going into this with the intention of making clickbait.
I'm not trying to make clickbait.
Got deleted tomorrow. I'd be Gucci. I'd be good.
I'm trying to talk. I'm literally just asking. You say you're politically homeless. You don't like that I'm calling you conservative. So I'm asking you, what are some ideas that are generally associated with the left that you associate yourself with, or you agree with?
You're gonna have to let me know. I have not.
Are you in favor of stronger social safety nets? Do you want stronger welfare? Do you want more? Do you want a higher minimum wage?
No, none of that.
Okay. Do you want worker-owned means of production? That's like the further lefty stuff that I'm not in favor of either. But I'm trying to get a general idea.
Worker-owned? Do you mean like sorry to interrupt. Do you mean like more unions, or do you mean like where the workers are more private business instead of big business?
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that question?
Okay, so when you say more worker-owned businesses,
Mm.
are you meaning more like they have more stock, like they own stock in the business?
No,
do you
no, no,
mean
so-
they're unionized, or
Yeah.
do you mean that they actually own the business?
Talking about
I-
communism?
So what I'm a social democrat. So I believe in stronger social safety nets.
Hunter, you got to turn it down like 20 dials right now, man. You got to bring it down like several thousand notches, okay? You need to present to them an acorn. Should acorn go to workman or to businessman? Like bring it up from there, okay? Like you're gonna need to start from square one. Holy shit.
We can basically just look at like other countries and see where they have stronger social safety nets, universal health care, stronger welfare, a UBI would be great. We see a larger and more efficient level of economic mobility in other countries that tend to adopt these policies. So I'm a social democrat. However, a further left idea, which I do not subscribe to, is that the workers should own the means of production. And what that means is that, yes, they don't just own stock. There's not just strong unions. I'm in favor of strong unions. They actually like would seize the means of production from the owner, and then they would all begin to like take a share based on how much work they put into that company.
Okay, so I have the idea concrete in my head.
Wait,
so that means, like, let's
isn't he
say I
asking
owned a business
Gothics?
and you and Gothics were my workers.
Mhm.
And both of you were on my production line. Let's say you're building teddy bears.
Mhm.
And
Wait, do they
you
not
both decided
understand the
that,
concept?
Hunter, you're going to own the stuffing of the teddy bears, and Gothics, you're going to own the outer shell of the teddy bears. And I no longer get the right to them because you have decided on your own that is yours now.
Well,
And
yeah, I don't
have to
agree with
find a
this
way
at
to
all.
get it.
This I was
No, but
just
I'm asking. I'm trying to get the idea.
yeah.
But if that's the case, I'm not for that either.
Yeah,
so
no.
Okay,
maybe
so
that
I'm
would be something.
Listen, if there's a building, okay, with 4 walls and 4 workers work there, okay, socialism is when each of the workers own one of the 4 walls and they can decorate it however they want, and the state owns the floor, so they can't walk on it without paying taxes. You have to play the floor as lava with the furniture, okay, but the furniture is actually lent to them by the union. And the union they have to pay dues to when they walk. Who owns the ceiling? There is no ceiling under socialism, which is why you pray for no rain. What are we talking about?
We do agree on.
Okay, sure. I'm trying to think of like what ideas are or what positions are generally seen as like a little bit more left liberal. Like, so
Let me put it this way.
Go
Let
ahead.
me put it this way. There's probably a lot more policies and ideas that I agreed with when I was on the left, but I did not ask enough questions. Like, for example, if you had asked me before I walked away from the left, I would have said I'm in favor for more welfare. But now understanding what it's done, especially to the Black community and how people are stuck in that cycle, I am absolutely not in favor of that.
Sure. So that might be something we could agree with. So do you believe in any element of like systemic racism? Like if there's a policy like welfare that's disproportionately negatively impacting Black people, that would be a like sign of systemic racism. So would you agree with like that element? I mean, we might be able to find some common ground there.
No, I'm going to have to decline on that because systemic racism in particular, if we just take away the words, take away the meaning of systemic racism,
What?
it's this idea that this is somehow preventing someone of doing something. But it's
What?
not. We all have personal choices, and I know people like to say, roll up your bootstraps, do whatever. If that's the term we got to use, that's the term we got to use. But
Pega clap.
I have people in my family that have dealt with racism, but you don't hear about it. They just do the thing.
Sure. And I actually would agree.
Wait,
So,
systemic racism doesn't exist? I've had people in my family who've dealt with it, but you don't hear about... What? What? Hey, she just acknowledged that welfare disproportionately negatively affects the Black community, which in a way it does, because welfare incentives are super fucked, and in some ways they do incentivize like really bad outcomes. But you can fix that by increasing the floor under which you get that welfare. Like, easy. Simple.
So I would agree with you there, but I think that we might still be able to find common ground. So let me try to explain this really quick. So this doesn't have to be a dichotomy. So it's not actually systemic racism versus pull yourself up by the bootstraps. I believe that, I mean, let's look around in this country that we live in. There are systems, quote unquote, in every facet of life, more or less, right? We have the criminal justice system. That's the system that we go through if we're being prosecuted for a crime or whatever. We're all sort of a product, more or less, of the systems around us. So I agree with you that within these systems, absolutely, you should work to, quote unquote, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, work as hard as you possibly can to maximize your outcomes. However, the systems in place, you don't always have individual control over that. So when we're talking about personal responsibility, that's something that needs to be instilled on a family level. That's not really something something that the government can necessarily do. What the government can do as far as policy is provide stronger social safety nets and whatnot.
Can you elaborate on the problem with American welfare and what makes it different from other welfare systems? Well, I'm not saying there aren't other welfare systems that have similar problems, but one of the issues that we have here in America is that I'm pretty sure that when we're talking about like welfare benefits, of which there are many different types, a lot of them have basically the same cutoff point for income, whether you're single or married. Or like the married cutoff point will be only a little bit above the single cutoff point, meaning that since when you get married, your income tends to roughly double, people who are married are less likely to be able to take advantage of welfare benefits, meaning that the system disincentivizes marriage when marriage is the kind of thing that could otherwise allow you to accrue tax and deductible benefits that would help people escape poverty in some other ways. So essentially there are like competing incentive structures. Also, the cutoff point for welfare in some places is so low that it actually discourages people from getting like jobs, because if they do that, they'll make like barely more than they made under welfare, but they have to work all the time, as opposed to like not working at all. So there's a lot of like, these are essentially like toxic incentives. And this is in no way, shape, or form the fault of poor people. These are just the incentives the state has provided. The best way to fix that would just be fix the welfare system, which you could really easily do by having a gradient cutoff point for welfare. So it's not just you make a certain amount of money and the benefits all just stop. Rather, you get a fraction of them based on how much you make, kind of like a, you know, like a reverse progressive tax. And additionally, you could raise the floor for married for married people significantly to about double what it is for single people, which means that getting married is no longer an economically disadvantageous thing. There's a lot of complexities to it that I'm not like familiar with all the, you know, I'm not familiar with every little complexity, but generally speaking, those are positive changes that could be made. Yeah.
And with that also, we can talk about systemic racism.
Oh, and disabled people. That's right. Disabled people. Okay, there's some fucked up shit with disabled people and the money they get. It's like, if you're disabled, you can get money from the state, but you can't own a total number of assets in excess of like a couple $1,000s, I think. Like, if you're disabled and you own stuff or have money in excess of a couple $1,000s, you no longer get those benefits. It's $2,000, so you want to save up for a car? Nope, you can't. If you save up for a car, you have too much money to get the disability. For some reason, yeah, even if it's in gifts, you can't gift disabled people money without cutting them off from their disabled. Yeah, like save up for an emergency? Nope. Save up for a car? Nope. Save up for a down payment? Nope. Is that only in the US? I'm sure there are other countries that do it, but it's such an astonishingly stupid idea that I have no idea. Like, that can't be that common, right? I wonder how that even started. I don't know, man. Somebody hated poor people or something. Really, really bad. And they hated disabled people too. And they decided that poor disabled people were really going to get the shit end of the stick. Is this based on state? I'm disabled and have a savings account, no problem. Do you get the benefits from the state based on disability? I'm not sure how much it varies, but I know that what I'm talking about is a real thing. Maybe there are some states that have different programs or whatever. My BF is due a settlement for their disability and the payment that would prevent them from claiming disability until they spend it all. Yeah. Wild shit.
Racism and how that manifests itself. And again, I just want to be crystal clear. When I'm talking about systemic racism, I am not saying that black people are incapable of doing anything because racism is in their way. I'm simply saying that there are actually systems in place that have been empirically proven to disproportionately negatively affect black people. And we can fix that without needing to talk about or without even ever bringing up white people bad or black people can't do it or whatever.
Can you give me an example of a system?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the criminal justice system is a very clear-cut one about basically when we look at I mean, even if we want to go to so police violence, we talk about this a lot. And I know the response to that is, well, black people commit more crime. And I would say, yeah, that's true. But why do black people commit more crime? And it's because they are in communities that are disproportionately poor, and with poverty comes more crime. It's absolutely true that you can't deny this. This is an empirically proven fact. And the reason they are in these disproportionately poor areas is due to policies in the past, like redlining, that forced black people into less than ideal communities and deprived them of being able to actually build equity in this amazing country at the time. They were prohibited from doing that, and we all can recognize how policies can have generational impacts. This is still hurting the black community today.
Okay, respectfully, you are making a generalized statement about the black community when you say that.
No, I'm
I
not.
grew up
I am not.
I grew up in the hood, and I have a cousin right now that is incarcerated for several things, and he was in a good family, family members, entrepreneurs.
I
He
love
got caught up
anecdotes.
in the wrong friend group and did stuff because he wanted to be cool.
What friend group? Why was there a wrong friend group? I grew up in Beverly Hills. There wasn't really a wrong friend group. Do you mean like a criminally inclined friend group or like gangs? In the neighborhood that I grew up in, that wasn't even a possibility. The wrong friend group that you got in with there were like, I don't know, stoners? Seems like maybe the neighborhood they were born into might have affected the possibility or likelihood of them being accessed by those kinds of people.
They're like gang violence and stuff?
Yes.
Right,
over
so-
and over and over and over
But-
again. I'll say this. They inject themselves into that through means of culture. It's not something that is, here is this area of black people and crime. Yeah, let's get to the bottom of that. Why is it that crime is so high? Why are crimes getting committed? Why are crimes getting committed in the first place? I've been laid off. I've had negative balance in my checking account. I've had some terrible living situations. I've never stabbed nobody. I've never killed nobody.
I'm not asking about your personal experience necessarily, because I can't speak to that. But I'm also not generalizing anything. It is an empirically proven fact that black people disproportionately live in poverty. That does not mean that all black people live in poverty. That doesn't mean that just if someone is black, they live in poverty. I just explained to you the reason why is due to yes, largely policies like redlining and the drug war. So, for example, we have the policy of the drug war, which was
Okay, so Hunter is making the exact same mistake that I used to make, okay? The problem is that you have to get them to... This is like talking to a creationist about evolution. Before explaining the ideas to them, you have to get them to agree on like the very, very, very base system. So the first thing that you should do is like, do you acknowledge that people who are poor are more likely to commit crimes? And this is a statistical fact. I mean, that's just a fact, you know. Okay, like, okay, that is true. Like, okay, so you acknowledge then if that's the case, then groups of people who are more likely to be poor are more likely to commit those crimes. Like, okay, sure, yeah. And she'll say like, but personal choice. But like, you have to keep like going over it. Okay, like, okay, so if there were policies that made some groups more poor on average, wouldn't that mean those policies led to a situation where crime was more likely to occur? Now, of course, Hunter is going to go through all of that, but what I'm basically saying is that you need to explain this like you would to a toddler.
Implemented with explicit intent to screw over the black community. That is what Nixon said. He said we couldn't make it be illegal to be black, but we could associate the blacks with crack cocaine and heavily criminalize the cocaine. So when we talk about like the fatherlessness issue in these black communities, part of that is due to the fact that a bunch of black people are being disproportionately locked up for rather minor drug offenses. This tears families apart again.
No, I'm sorry. You know what tears?
It's not just culture, and why do they have that culture?
What tears families apart is the enabling of that bad behavior. We are talking about people that are committing crimes and then saying that they get screwed over. You committed
That's not
a
what they're
crime.
saying.
You gotta own up to it.
But they're not saying that. First of all, they're
And
not.
also, I hold on. I gotta push back. Also, you just said something about that. That the reason that people are in poverty is because of something dealing with the whatever. I'm gonna go look this up. I don't know exactly what the how they label the stats, but there is something that you can find data on this where it shows you that black people in America rank the lowest when it comes to financial maintenance, when it comes to opening up a savings account, building credit, things like that. And they spend more on physical goods.
But why is that? No, but
why?
Why? But why do they do this? It's like it's almost as if sometimes disproportionately they lack the education on how to better handle money.
Oh, nope. Hunter, you made a mistake. Now she's going to say you're racist. Bigotry of low expectations. No, he just made a mistake. Now, what he said, by the way, is completely correct. Yes, the poor financial planning can absolutely be correlated with lower levels of educational attainment. However, she is going to race bait like crazy. She's soy facing right now because she's waiting for an opportunity to race bait. What you need to do is just ask the question, right? So what then leads them to make those worse decisions? And they'd be like, culture. Okay, well, what elements of their culture? Like, well, you glorify wearing gold Rolexes. Okay, so why does their culture glorify wearing gold Rolexes or blah, 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 right? Like, you have to just keep asking over and over because they are desperate to race bait. Now, I am making an assumption right now. I don't know for a fact that she is about to race bait. However, I was not born yesterday, so...
And when you lack that but you lack education because you're living in poverty and the local schools are funded by your tax dollars. So when you're living in poverty, you also get a lesser education, which leads you to put you in a situation where you're more likely to make those decisions. Also, just really quick, people in your chat keep saying it's culture. There can be a cultural element to it, but again, we would have to ask why that culture is. And secondly, where people say I'm a white messiah or trying to educate a black woman, very nice identity politics, guys. But anyway.
I get what they're saying because you have to understand the irony of a white man telling me these things.
No.
Yes! God, yes!
You're invoking identity politics. You're invoking identity politics right now.
Telling me that's not true.
It doesn't matter. But this is what you're doing is the equivalent of someone telling me I can't have an opinion because I'm white.
I did not say that.
You're saying that it's...
You kind of did, though.
Ironic that I'm white telling a black person about something. You're invoking identity politics right now.
Okay. In any case, your argument is that because of all of these systems, these things are in place. This is why it is affecting black people disproportionately. But also, you did say that this type of thing, in order to fix it, has to do with being in the home. It starts in the home, right? Is that what you were saying earlier?
Well, when it comes to personal responsibility, that's something that needs to be fixed within the home. But when we're actually talking about opportunity, and these communities largely lack opportunity, we're talking about policies like investing money to try to build up businesses. A rough idea I thought of is like incentivizing businesses to establish there. Trump actually, unfortunately, it didn't quite work out as well as it could have, but Trump, credit to him, he had a really good idea called, I think they were called, there were opportunity zones, where he was incentivizing businesses that could go in these black communities. And although it ended up not quite working out.
Vosh, how's Hunter doing so far? Hunter's doing great. Really, like, no. Keep in mind that whenever I'm like, oh, Hunter just made a mistake, I'm talking with the benefit of, like, not actually being there in the moment. I can literally just pause and think about something. So, yeah, it's not a direct reflection of like, you know, performance. His mustache is doing great, too. Yeah, okay, wait. Can he grow his mustache out thicker? Is it possible for him to do that? I had really, like, fuzzy upper lip mustache hair until I was like 17 or 18. So back before then, whenever I had like I had a mustache that I grew out for Halloween once when I dressed up as the comedian. But my facial hair was not dark enough to to like look like much at a distance. So I dyed it black with like some makeup or whatever. So this was me at 16, I think. Oh, there we go. With a real mustache. But with mustache hair dye. Well, it wasn't proper mustache hair dye. I think it was something else. It was like some kind of... I actually don't even remember. You guys are so mean. I was like 16. That's a good mustache for a 16-year-old. Thank you. Shoe polish? No, it wasn't shoe polish. Jesus. Unironically, that's not bad. Well, I was a hairy kid, you know. Yeah, baby Vosh. I don't know. I worked out back then. I think I've got some good, like, trap muscles, you know? Like, there's, like, a line here. I mean, I know I'm, like, a kid, so I'm not gonna be some fucking muscle titan, but, yeah, I think, yeah. I think it's alright. In my opinion. Copium. Alright.
Out how it was supposed to, the idea was 100% there. So there are policies that we can take to fix these issues on a broad sense, and then there's an individual way that we can fix these issues within the family. But the government and policy, that doesn't really mesh with the family very often. Usually it's the government trying to make like a broader policy, right, to affect large groups of people.
I just don't understand how you're expecting that something, if you're saying that, I believe, personal responsibility is like the tip top, like the creme de la creme of something that someone would need to succeed in life. And if that is not being taught in the home, I don't think there is any policy, no movement, no nothing that will be able to force someone.
Oh, update, by the way. All the QAnoners have left. Nothing happened with JFK. This is very convenient for me because I'm going to go on Jubilee in a couple of days to debate QAnon with some QAnon believers. And the fact that they just had like a big anticipated drop where nothing happened is definitely going to be a good rhetorical point to bring up, I think.
In order to have that personal responsibility until you actually address the problem. And my frustration, to make it very clear, comes from when I deal with people who does not have that real life experience. And I have seen these things growing up.
Oh my God, she's talking about lived experience as a white person. She's actually doing like the SJW thing.
been telling me that this is something that can be fixed on a societal level or on a system level, when I know that some people simply don't have that ability to self-reflect or use personal responsibility.
Okay.
And you're making it more difficult.
Well, the couple things is when you invoke your lived experience, again, that is by definition identity politics. It's not bad if you want to bring in identity politics, but you should just admit that it's identity politics.
What are you basing your position on?
What do you mean?
It's
So
my lived experience as a black woman, and what
I
I'm
don't
saying
base
to
my
you
stuff
about
on
Black American culture. What are you basing your positions on?
I don't need to base it anything on my like personal.
This is why she has the SJW get up, right? This is like the ultimate double agent, right? She can put out all of the conservative arguments, but then when people disagree with them, she can go, "All right, sweetie, you're looking awfully white right now," and then just sort of throw her head back and like the undercut flips and like the nose ring glistens in the camera light, you know? It's a really powerful double act, you know?
Personal experience. Rather, I'm able to base it on looking at like from a policy level. Again, I'm not trying to tell black people that they need to just go like do better or whatever. I'm talking about broad policy again. So I want to lay out an example for you. So I agree that having the drive to go out and work for what like the best outcome you can get in this life is absolutely important, and that is a value that should be instilled in the home. But let me lay out a scenario. Let's say in the home there's the mom and the dad, and they instill these values that say you need to work really hard, you need to do as best you possibly can, okay? And then their child goes out, and maybe they're living in one of these poor communities, and then you know what would happen? They go and apply for a job. And you know what? If they have a black sounding name, I'm sure you've heard this study brought up repeatedly, it's come up multiple times, it's been replicated a couple times too, black sounding names are less likely to get callbacks when they apply for jobs. So that right there is a way.
I want to see how she responds to this. There are a few other directions I would have taken this, but I want to see how she goes with this.
That bias can affect black people, even if they are working, like you said, taking personal experience, taking personal responsibility, doing the absolute best thing they can possibly do. They could still run into roadblocks outside of their control due to systemic racism.
I've gotten
Again,
jobs.
It's not a dichotomy. Rather, it's just work as hard as you can, and let's also address some of these systemic inequalities.
I don't believe that someone is doing the best as they can if they stop at my name sounded like an ethnic name and I didn't get a job.
That wasn't how it was done. That wasn't how. So that would have been invoked. First of all, you shouldn't shit on that because that would have been using a personal experience, and that's what you just tried to use on me.
If you
Second
could let me finish, I'd be able to finish my argument.
Well, okay, go ahead.
Thank you so much. This is going great.
No, the snark isn't really helping, but it's okay.
You know what? It's that Puerto Rican and Cape Verdean. I just got to use my identity politics when I can. It is what it is.
Okay.
So I fucking had a brain fart.
We were talking about the call thing, and your chat said this.
Can I step in?
Well, yes, just really quick, I want to address, someone said that study was done like a decade ago. Two really quick things. One, you're right, it was done a decade ago, and then it was replicated again, and then again. So it's been done actually 3 different times. Second of all, it wasn't just one experience or whatever, it was actually a controlled study where they sent out resumes that were identical, and the only thing that was different was a black-sounding name, and the black-sounding names were significantly less likely to get a call back. People are saying I sound like a racist. Again, we're pulling the Hunter's talking about stats, that makes him racist card. Not sure what the point of that is, but again, I just wanted to address that really quickly.
Hold on, I remember. Hold on, San. I just remembered what I was gonna say. Okay, so, okay, back to the black-sounding name. My point that I was making is that I often hear that as an argument about black people being disproportionately, whatever. I look at that as an excuse. If we're talking about pulling up your bootstraps and persevering and overcoming adversity, my first thought is, why the hell would anyone want to work for a job that wanted to discriminate because of your name anyway? And
What kind of response is that? What? Dude, it's not, how can it be systemic racism if you wouldn't even want to work for the people who are systemically racist? What is that? Dude, like, how could Stalin have been authoritarian? Just don't live there. What?
And
they shouldn't be though.
Also, I would even go as far as saying there's other jobs out there. There's other things to do.
What?
A common argument that I hear, for example, on the topic of, if we think about hate speech, for example, what if somebody's working for a racist job? Why the hell would you want to work for a racist boss anyway?
Well, there are laws against that. Like, yeah,
She's literally saying it's not systemic racism because systemic racism is bad, and if it's bad, then you wouldn't want to have it happen to you anyway. Wait, what is it? You could excuse any bad thing in the universe like this. Lynch mobs? Well, you probably wouldn't want to be friends with those guys anyway. Why would you even want to move to a sundown town? Taxes? Why not go to international waters? What are you talking about? It's like bad things don't exist because you wouldn't want the bad things to happen anyway? There's not even a logic to this. yeah, you could.
You definitely
It doesn't
shouldn't
matter
be,
if there's
but
laws against it. My point being, having the choice to make your choice in life. I didn't say that life was going to be easy or nicer and everyone's not going to be mean to one another. I said that is the reality, that people will always be mean to one another.
But we're talking about being mean in a systemically racist way, not just being mean like in a normal, ordinary way.
don't you think it's lame that people are not able to?
It is lame.
Isn't it lame that people, if they're cursed with a black-sounding name, they're suddenly like less likely to get hired in certain aspects? Like that's a way.
That sucks.
But that's a way. So that's a way that black people are specifically disadvantaged compared to white people. That would be systemic racism. You're conceding my point right now.
That sucks. That sucks. How bad do you want the job?
Okay, so then you're just living in denial again, which is so you realize what you're saying, which is no matter what happens, it's just on them to do better. It's just on them to do better no matter what, which is unrealistic ultimately when we're talking about broad systems.
So I really only have two things that I can infer from this. Either Gothix is catatonically unintelligent, and I mean we're talking at the point where I can only assume that the fact that breathing is sort of an autonomous process. Like that's the only thing that saved her up to this point. If breathing was manual, then she would have died a long time ago. That's one possibility. And the other possibility is that she thinks systemic racism means that it's impossible for all black people to get a job no matter what. And that is what systemic racism has to mean. I assume. I guess the most likely answer is probably that she doesn't really have any real beliefs. I don't know. I mean, her thing is literally called, like, The Grift with Gothix, right? That's, like, the name of her thing? I have no idea.
I already conceded that they should do as well as they can, but if you're being discriminated against simply because your name sounds ethnic or whatever, that is absolutely a way that black people are disadvantaged compared to white people, and that would be systemic racism. Correlation doesn't equal causation. I never said it did, but again, there was a significant decrease there. It was far more than just correlation.
All I'm saying is that systemic racism or not, this conversation, the semantics of what is occurring in society, the systemic racism, because I just put it bluntly, how bad do they want the job?
But they're not even getting interviewed.
This country when she was really young,
but they're not
getting multiple jobs, single parent, probably dealt with a lot of bullshit, and somehow she was able to make it. So how bad do you want the job?
But it doesn't matter because they're not even getting interviewed. They're not getting called in even initially. No, because they have an ethnic sounding name. That's what I just said.
All of the interviews, they couldn't get any of them?
Is that what I said? Is all of them? I'm talking about disproportionate. I'm talking about disproportionate. A disproportionate way that black people are negatively affected.
She doesn't know what disproportionate means. Hunter, you gotta back it way up, okay? Hunter, do you have any apples that you can use to provide a quick math lesson?
If they're unable to even get a call in to do an initial interview, you can't use the how bad do you want the job thing.
With all due respect, you're making black people sound very disabled right now.
You are.
God. Guys, I know that we do like horseshoe shit a lot on this stream, but I just want you to know that I don't think I've encountered any lefties that are this dumb. I really do mean that. Like, even if we're talking like Mel or Professor Flowers or Mike from PA, I actually think that these people are like intellectual titans compared to Gothix, you know? Even if you want to argue that like Mel's not a lefty or whatever. But I actually do think that, yeah. I think that if you calmed everyone down a bit, you could have a conversation with like all of those people. Even if you disagreed with a ton of shit, I think you could have a conversation. But this is very beyond that. This is like, yeah, this is like, where's the, hold on. Gothic's going in for brain surgery.
Can I hold it?
Only if you promise to be really, really careful.
I promise I will be so incredibly careful. I will be incredibly careful with it.
Okay.
I promise.
All right. So it's slippery. Be careful.
All right. Are you ready? I'm about to touch a 1 kilogram sphere of silicon-28 atoms. They're about 2.15 times. It feels.
All right, good meme.
You're the one. No, you are. You realize that. No. I'm saying that. No, because I'm actually saying that there are systems in place that are disadvantaging black people, and you're saying, well, it's true that black people are disproportionately in these negative circumstances, but that's because they're just fucked up. That's what you're saying right now.
No. I did not say that. I said, let's go with it. If you think this is the reality, if your reality is black people are disproportionately have a disadvantage, what now? That is the point that I'm trying to make.
I told you,
what now?
First, we need to come to an agreement that that's actually...
So wait, what? She's just going to walk around it? Like, avoid conceding that point? Okay.
Actually reality. And so far, we're not even able to get past that point.
Sure. Next.
Okay, great. So then we need to actually start looking at policy. So for example, Joe Biden's doing something I really agree with, which is investing $2.5 billion into a specific black community that was torn apart by a highway that was installed. This is a good example of systemic racism where, again, this was not anything that was intended to fuck over black people. It was just putting up a highway. But in doing so, they disproportionately negatively impacted black people, which makes it a system negatively impacting black people. That is systemic racism. And the way that we fix that is to further invest in those communities. Again, provide jobs, provide businesses.
Can you give me a more general, something more general, because that affects a very small percentage. I don't know how many people live near that bridge. So.
Sorry, I just felt a couple of synapses fire in a really painful way. I actually felt, yo, holy shit, one of them just ricocheted off my skull. There's like fucking collateral damage from that one. Jesus Christ.
Well, yeah, again, it's kind of the idea of investing in these communities and not just throwing money at them, not just giving everybody money, but rather
She would have killed you? Oh, God, if I debate... If for some reason she ever chooses to debate, and honestly, I'm worried about my health if that ever happens. I feel like... I don't know, like... I feel like I need to bring, like, a musical instrument, or, like... a bag of peanuts or something. I need like props. I need like a medic. I need a priest. I need something, okay? I can't go it in alone, okay? Jesus Christ. Fuck! I keep forgetting I'm blocking the screen. God damn it.
In these communities, like I brought up, incentivizing businesses to actually go in these communities, which would provide jobs. I mean, I'm not a policymaker, so I have like some broad ideas and understandings of how we can ameliorate these flaws. But again, it's going to really come down to, first and foremost, we have to be willing to agree that this problem even exists.
Okay, you didn't really give me any examples. I'm just going to say that. And I would hope that you would have those examples prepared. If you're telling me that my anecdotal evidence of my lived experiences don't mean anything, and you're telling me that we need to start changing things on a policy level, and you give me an example about some bridge somewhere.
It was a highway, and it was a specific example of where a policy was implemented that went right along the line of what I was advocating for in the broader community. That was a complete and total direct answer to your question.
Okay, and you're talking about going into these communities and investing. You're saying not to throw money at them, but investing, and you don't really know what that looks like. And the only thing that I can really go, I mean, that's what you're saying. You're not familiar with policies. You're saying go back into these communities and invest. But what is that going to do if we're not teaching people personal responsibility, like you said?
Again, we can also do that, but you asked me for a policy, and I already told you there's not going to be a personal responsibility policy. Another policy we could work on too is getting rid of the drug war, so we could decriminalize drugs.
Okay, we can decriminalize drugs, okay, but that's not going to stop people from taking the drugs. That's not going to...
Oh, it's exciting, isn't it? Feeling these feelings in your brain. Oh God, it's like a fireworks show going on in my brain right now. With all the fucking neurons firing. Oh my God, hold on. No blood, okay. Whew. Okay.
No, it's not, but it's going to stop people getting arrested for taking the drugs, which is going to stop tearing up communities partially. And then also what that would do is it would cut out the need for gangs and drug cartels, which oftentimes, again, infiltrates these black communities since they're already disproportionately poor and more adversarial with the police. So there's various different policies that we can look at. I just gave you two, though, off the top of my head, so I don't think it's fair for you to say that I don't have any policies.
Okay, Oh, that was good. Thank you, Hunter. Thank you. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Okay. Well, yeah. There was someone else in the comments that said something I wanted to. Oh yeah, that racism requires intent. No, it doesn't. That's why we differentiate between personal, interpersonal racism and systemic racism. So again, the way I define systemic racism is a system that negatively impacts a racial group disproportionately. So you could even argue that the welfare state is systemic racism because it wasn't supposed to be racist, but it it negatively impacted the black community. So that would be an example of quote unquote systemic racism from the Democrat side.
Okay. All right.
Can I talk to Stars, Don, really quickly? Just
Yeah, you can talk. You guys want to duke it out? You want to get on here, Star Sen? Do your thing?
Because, yeah, the main thing I had, Hunter, when you asked about snarkiness earlier.
Did she like short circuit? Is she experiencing the same? Does Gothix have the same effect on herself as she does on the rest of us? Is it like a fucking suicide like bomb pack? Where she just like enters a debate and fucking hits the detonator and just everyone, yeah, she hurt herself in her confusion. Like everyone around just sort of a, yeah, fucking brain bomb. The hamster got tired. Mental EMP. Oh, God. Stop. We're mean.
It was. You said I was emotional. That's what I wanted to ask you.
Yes, but I'm gonna get to that. I'm gonna get to that with this point right here. You came into that debate ready to attack Gothix. Whether you want to admit it or not, that was your aim. The first thing you did was talk down to her, demean her, and then misquote something in the debate. I'm gonna get there. You have a habit of interrupting.
Missed opportunity. If Hunter had loudly slurped through the straw the entire time, that would have been so fucking good. Holy shit.
Please do not. Here's what I will tell you. I looked up the information you gave. You gave wrong information on both. You played semantics, and you cherry-picked the information.
Which info?
The Mr. Potato Head.
Your head is blocking her? Yeah? Do you think that's what the moderator looks like?
She was correct. Earlier in the day, and I put them on there. You can go look. CNN and BBC both reported on it. Hasbro said point blank in the beginning they were getting rid of Mr. and Mr. That was their thing. Mr. and Mrs. were going away for a more gender neutral. I provided screenshots and I provided the links on the initial tweet where she first saw your tweet about her. So that's the first.
Wait. I need to respond to this.
I'm not done yet.
Please, I need to. Because
you have to wait. I know you're biting at the chomp, but you gotta wait. Here's what I would tell you. Later in the day, after they saw the whole backlash of where the money was going to come from, they were like, hold on, guys. It's just the umbrella. We're not getting rid of Mr. and Mrs. The first initial thing they told everyone was, yeah, we're getting rid of it. We want everyone to be their most authentic self. We're going to have empty spuds with just 42 accessories, and that's how it's going to be.
Is that what they said?
And afterwards, that is what they said. That is a direct quote from CNN. I have it up on there, and I can even put that little thing right up on here if you'd like.
So then it was Gothix having old information, right? So
that's what I
mean, I'm reading right here that no, because what they wanted to do is it is becoming quote unquote gender neutral, I guess, if you want to say that, but they still kept the Mr. and Mrs. No, because wait. She did not. No, because she didn't just say, oh, well, they were changing this and that was it. It was that she said this was some queer theory or some like indoctrination of children, and that also was wrong.
What would you call gender neutral if not part of queer theory?
It's not indoctrinating children.
Okay, it is when you start giving it as children's toys.
Well,
it's a talking potato. Imagine like you're a conservative parent and you see your kids playing with like potatoes or like like dumbass kids, and you're like, wait, hold on, and you run over and snatch the potatoes from their hands and crudely like scrape genitalia into them with the tip of a knife and go, here you go. That's the Mr. and that's the Mrs. You walk away thinking, yeah, I sure did save them from the gender neutral dogma of what potatoes are. What the fuck are we talking about? So Potato Head is the name of the toy, but this character right here is Mr. Potato Head. It says right here, like Mr. Potato Head, Mrs. With the mustache and stuff, like that's Mr. Potato Head, but it doesn't have to have the mustache. Potato Head is just the brand. You can put a bunch of stuff on there. It's just all the accessories. Like, this is still Mr. Potato Head, but it doesn't have to have the Mr. Potato Head stuff. It can have other accessories. That's the point. That's how it works. I can't believe we have to talk about this.
It's not, because it's named Mr. Potato Head and they kept the Mr. and Mrs. So
they did not until they realized the money wouldn't be there. And so that is my first point. The second point is you misrepresented the Dr. Seuss incident. That actually initially started in 2017 when Melania Trump donated a mural to a library. And the librarian on staff looked the mural, I will admit, identified a few negligible things, and they were very racist for the time frame of now, but not when they came out.
Well,
and
sure, yeah.
Yes, and then nothing was said about it, even though the company made no notice until it was financially good for them to do. So that's my point. It's
Wait.
not that they initially realized it once the Asian hate came out. They were brought up about it 4 years.
What are we?
prior.
I can't. Not even as a joke can I pretend to care about this.
Focused on
the cause and the consequence, what happened as a result, and how it connects to everything else. That's why I said it has to do with indoctrination, and it would to you would have to take that initiative to want to know, what do I mean by that, and how is this all correlated. But my point that I'm trying to make is that thing with the Mr. Potato Head and all that stuff, I don't care about what's happening. I just care about like the obvious patterns, like why is it happening. And
well, because you're trying to make it into this like Marxist big like overarching thing about how there's like the Marxisms entwined to everything or whatever. But
how much do you honestly, and I'm not trying to be mean, I'm not trying to be condescending, how much do you know about Marxism? Like,
not very much. I don't follow Marxism, but also I reject the idea that everything that like gender neutral.
Educating yourself that this
because I don't need to be educated on Marxism to recognize that anti-racism and accepting LGBT people is not a Marxist thing. But anyway, I mean, I thought that I just wanted to ask. I thought that you wanted personally, I thought that you wanted to wrap this conversation up. I'm fine if you want to keep on talking, but I just wanted to know from Starsan how.
I wanted to come to a middle ground, but I don't think we're gonna do that.
Well, I mean, yeah, your chat's accusing me of pushing agendas on children. Again, telling kids the truth and the facts about like gender and sex, like at an appropriate age is not a bad thing. It's not indoctrination.
Okay, anti-racism is racist. read what's in anti-racism. It is so unbelievably racist that it's so unbelievably divisive, and I know that you're doing things out of the kindness of your heart. I know you are trying to be a good person. I do not believe you're just a jerk on YouTube. I refuse to believe that. But what I'm telling you is that you are not in a position to say that this is false when I'm responding about Marxism, when you do not fully grasp what Marxism is.
I don't need to fully grasp what Marxism is to have conversations about.
Hunter, this was a big debate, L. Okay, you should have said you know what Marxism is, and then asked her to define it, and then just laughed at whatever she said. Hunter, I appreciate your honesty, but listen, knowledge is very relative, and compared to Gothics, you have a doctorate level understanding of Marxism. You could have just made shit up if you wanted to. She could have been like, well, Marxism says equality. Well, Marxism actually does not talk about equality, so you actually could have dunked at her if she said that. You could have said anything, you know. You could have just sort of jangled some keys in front of your camera, and she would have been mesmerized. You could have taken the opportunity to escape. Or maybe ask her for her credit card details.
Systemic racism or LGBT acceptance. No, because when you come on here and say things like, oh, the Mr. Potato thing is a Marxist tactic, that just sounds like a fucking delusion at that point, honestly. But either way, I appreciate the conversation. I'm sorry we weren't able to get to a more common ground. Also, thanks Starsan for the convo. Sorry that I've apparently become super emotional by consistently citing studies. But either way, yeah, I guess have a good rest of your time, guys.
You too, Hunter.
I'm gonna go talk to Karl Marx. See you.
Nice. Hey, me too. All right, that was an experience. Hunter, we love you. Stay strong. Jesus H. Christ. Good God, Lord God Almighty. Holy fuck. You know, in the past, I have been accused of cop hate, if you can believe it, on this here platform, in large part because I have, I've noted a tendency on the part of police officers in the past to run off with the gun, so to speak. I never thought I'd get angry at them for not doing that, but, here we are. The police who were present at the Texas school shooting, I'm not going to waste time with the fancy run-up and intro. You all know more or less what happened there. The shooter engaged with the police officers outside of the school. The shooter made their way into the school, undeterred by the presence of those police officers, and then the police officers spent nearly an hour waiting outside of the building, scared to go in, listening to gunshots echo inside the school while they waited on backup. How? I'm not overstating the case here. That's literally and directly what's said. This is the New York Post. There's a New York Times article that says this as well. 12foot.io wasn't working for me. Here you go. Police waited to enter Texas school. A shooter went on a killing spree. Texas elementary school mass shooting suspect spent more than 40 minutes slaughtering young students inside as witnesses desperately urged police to charge into the building. So there were people shouting at the cops, go in there, because you can hear the gunshots inside of the school as the shooter just has free reign to kill whoever they want, while teachers inside of the school are dying to protect the students. The police officers are sitting outside vibing, going goblin mode. Now, the interesting thing here is that the initial report is that the shooter was too heavily armed and armored for the police officers to take to begin with, so they had to wait for like backup, like SWAT or whatever, you know, with people with heavier arms and armor. But here's the thing, folks. So the shooter had guns, which is, funnily enough, what police officers also have. They both have those. They said it was heavily armored, you know. Initially, the reports, you guys remember, right? The initial reports, this guy's, he's just too tough. He comes in here, he's armored. He wasn't armored. He was wearing a vest with pockets to slot ballistic armor into, those plates that you put on. He was unarmored. A bullet would have gone through him, which means they didn't shoot him. They tried to lie about it, but they were caught on the lie. He wasn't armored. No, he wasn't armored. Those plates are expensive? Yeah, they are. The excuse I've heard is that he barricaded himself in that room. No cops could get in, but like at least try. Cops can get into an elementary school room if they want to. There is nothing inside of a school that can prevent police officers from entering that room if they really want to. They have discretion to do basically anything they want when it comes to navigating that space. And as for whether or not the police officers, you guys think it's a bravery issue. Well, don't worry, folks. It's not that the cops aren't brave enough to go into the school, because they did. Police officers rushed into the school to get their own children, he added, and then they left. So they skedaddled on in, you know, elementary school. So the police officers, I'm here to help. Sprint right in there, get their kids. All right, little Timmy, you're safe. Let's go back to hiding, behind the police cars. That's actually hysterical. Well, it is darkly funny. It definitely is. It's also, you know, unbearable conceptually. The bulk of the kids and teachers were in a single room and were massacred all at once while the police did fuck all. The police... So, hold on. It gets worse. They may have been the ones to barricade the shooter in the room. Oh, don't tell me. DPS Director Steve McGraw said twice the cops were the ones who barricaded the shooter into a classroom. That contradicts previous statements by other DPS Spoks, who said the gunman barricaded himself and immediately began shooting kids. Now this right here, the police timeline of the Texas school shooting has a lot of holes. I can't parse together the truth. We're only like a day and a half out from the incidents, and also I'm not a journalist, but usually when there are inconsistencies in the story offered by police, it's because they f***ed up really badly, and they're trying to keep the press from getting onto it. Unfortunately for them, rather than most of the times the police f*** up really badly, this is a massive national issue, so it's getting a lot of attention, which means journalistic inquiry, which means lies get found out. Like the lie about the armor. Maybe we'll find out that the police basically directly caused more kids to get killed by barricading the shooter instead of confronting him directly, you know? Who's to say? Now, I'm not... You know, people like to respond to behavior like this with like a, well, you're not a police officer. You have to be there. You don't know what their job demands are. And you're right, I don't. And I don't care either. Any situation where police officers are moseying on outside of the school while dozens of children are being gunned down, completely unimpeded by a school shooter for, at minimum, 40 minutes. 40 minutes. Think 40 minutes. You could watch like 2 TV show episodes in that time. Like you could start that, finish one, hit next episode, watch all that one through, and the whole time gunshots firing inside the school, and then you run it. 40 minutes in a situation like this. Unfathomable. Absolutely insane. A whole TNG episode. Now, the police officers are, of course, facing a tremendous amount of criticism for this, but I think it's important to understand that what we're seeing right here, it's not unique. I want to share a bit of a story with you, and I only learned about this, by the way, not because I was taught it in school, which is where I should have been taught this information, but I was taught this by a Knowing Better video, a video which all of you, by the way, should watch. Spectacular stuff. It is about the Columbine Massacre. This is basically the origin of the modern American school shooter thing. I want to talk about the behavior. Yes, Knowing Better is great. I want to talk about the behavior of the SWAT team here. See, SWAT teams exploded in popularity after Columbine. You know, they, oh, what if something big and special happens? We need the extra fancy boys with the big armor and guns to come on in. But the SWAT teams didn't do shit at Columbine. I will demonstrate by reading through Wikipedia, the only reliable source on Earth. All right? Scroll up. 12:08 p.m. suicides. I'd read the whole paragraph, but it's not relevant. At 12:08 p.m., they shot themselves. Why did they shoot themselves? How exactly did they shoot themselves? Doesn't matter, they're dead. 8 minutes before they kill themselves, at noon, SWAT teams stationed outside the school, ambulances started taking the wounded to local hospitals. A call for additional ammunition in case of a shootout came at 12:20. By this point, the two boys have been dead for 12 minutes. So keep in mind, the fire alarms are ringing inside the high school, you know, which muffles gunshots. Like, when fire alarms are ringing, it's kind of hard to tell if anyone's shooting inside. I'll give them that. That's fair to say, I think. If the fire alarms, those things are loudest, are ringing, you're not going to be able to confidently determine whether or not, you know, shooting is going on. So I don't expect the police to instantly know that the boys inside have committed suicide. I don't believe that. However, authorities reported pipe bombs by 1 o'clock, and 2 SWAT teams entered the school at 1:09. 1:09. 1 hour and 1 minute after the 2 shooters killed themselves, the SWAT team, the basically militarily equipped police, finally dare to enter the school. Moving from classroom to classroom, discovering hidden students and faculty, they entered at the end of the school opposite the library. This isn't a joke. Hampered by old maps and unaware a new wing had recently been added. It boggles the mind the level of incompetence necessary to not know the layout of the school that you're about to be storming for a shooter situation when wings added to schools take literal years to plan and build. Okay. They were also hampered by the sound of the fire alarms. That's fair. Those are very, very loud. We go forward a bit. Patrick Ireland had regained lost consciousness several times after being shot by Klebold. Paralyzed on his right side, he crawled to the library windows where, on live television at 2:38 p.m., 2 hours and 30 minutes after all shooters in the building had shot themselves, 2 hours 30, he stretched out the window, intending to fall into the arms of 2 SWAT team members standing on the roof of the vehicle, instead falling directly onto the vehicle's roof in a pool of blood. He became known as the boy in the window. The team members, Don Kramer and John Ramoniak, were later criticized for allowing Ireland to drop more than 7 feet to the ground while doing nothing to try to ensure he could be lowered to the ground safely or break his fall. So they just, like, watched as, like, this bloodied... Yeah, there's a video of it. At 2:15, so that's 2 hours and 7 minutes after the shooters have killed themselves, students placed a sign in the window, "One bleeding to death," in order to alert police and medical personnel of Dave Sanders' location in the science room. That's a teacher. Police initially feared it was a ruse by the shooters, so no shots fired in 2 hours, 7 minutes. The shooter has a brilliant idea. We'll put a sign up into the window encouraging them to come in. Genius. A shirt was tied to the doorknob. At 2:30, this was spotted, and by 2:40, SWAT officers evacuated the room of students and called for a paramedic. Hansi and Starkey were reluctant to leave Sanders behind. By 3 o'clock, the SWAT officers had moved Sanders to a storage room, which was more easily accessible. As they did so, a paramedic arrived and found Sanders had no pulse. He had died of his injuries in the storage room before he could receive medical care. So the SWAT team, after seeing the sign, waited. Only then, like 45 minutes after the sign had been placed in the window, did they enter that room and get the guy out, moved him to a storage room. And from the language here, I don't think they applied any kind of medical aid. I don't think they're obligated to in a perceived shooter situation, even though no shots have been fired in hours. So they didn't. They just sort of brought the bleeding guy there and just sort of put him, like, on the ground in the storage room. They just put him in a closet, basically. And the paramedics came and found him dead. He died in that closet, alone. You can read the whole thing if you want. This happens, like, all the time. Didn't this happen in Parkland, too? Police officers are fucking cowards. And the reason they're cowards is because the first rule that police officers are taught in academy is not protect and serve. Obviously, it's not protect and serve. It's make it home at the end of the day. That's the reason why. All the bad behavior that police engage in can be attributed to that. Every act of violence they commit against other people. How often cops are like twitchy fucking raccoons that jump out at you at a bush, you know? You gotta play Simon Says with them, keep your hands right there on the wheel when you're pulled over for a fucking rollover stop at a four-way stop sign, you know? They're twitchy because they're taught in academy. Any person at any time could kill you. They're treated, or they're taught to treat the environments that they're supposed to be protecting, the way that like U.S. infantry treated like Afghanistan during occupation. Like anyone could have the improvised explosive device, except, of course, soldiers have rules of engagement that limit the degree of escalation when they like begin to fire on people. Cops don't, you know? Like cops can just open fire and like, there you go, that happened. They feared for their life because somebody moved their hand a little bit slightly. Whereas, you know, soldiers have like, there's like the list you have to go through it. You can be court-martialed if you don't follow that list and blah, blah, blah. They're worse. They're far worse. And I think it's important to understand, like, as long as this is their attitude, cops, not only will a cop not sacrifice themselves to save a child, a cop would rather let 10 children die than even risk their life. In this case, it was 19, or well, it wasn't 19 children. It was like 17 children and 2 teachers, wasn't it? They would, like, they don't. At the end of the day, their lives are the thing that they care about. And the cops actually do have body armor, unlike the guy they lied about who didn't. Oh, sorry, no, 19 kids and 2 teachers. My bad, I didn't. Yeah, no, 19 kids. While they just like waited outside, you know, didn't do anything. Even if they had stormed the place and hadn't been able to protect a single one of those kids, even if all the kids had died before the cops could reasonably have done anything, at least that would have demonstrated on their part a willful engagement with the situation, a desire to risk their own lives to protect others. But they didn't. It doesn't really matter how many lives they could or could not have saved in any specific instance. It's about the attitude they have when approaching situations that could threaten them. But cops are pussies, aren't they? What about all those no-knock warrants? You know how they send SWAT teams to do no-knock warrants for like drug crimes? Because they're terrified. They don't want to have 1 cop knock on a door. They don't even want to have 2 cops or 6 cops knock on a door. They want like a whole squad of like rifle-wielding, you know, flak vest, you know, bulletproof helmet, everything, storming a building with no, because nothing, any threat to them is so intolerable that they will subject you to death if it means they get a slightly higher chance of coming back home at the end of the day, which is just not the philosophy I think police should subscribe to. In situations of great social tension, of danger, cops should be the, sorry if this is controversial, the first people to die. That's their job. Isn't that the point of the thin blue line? That's the job that you signed up for. It's like, it'd be like soldiers, you know, like soldiers fleeing from a battlefield. And you're like, why are they doing that? And they're like, it's really hard being out there. Why would you expect them to like fight there when they could die? It's like, well, that's your fucking job. You signed up for that. That's the main thing. And yes, I know the Supreme Court has ruled police have no obligation to risk their lives to protect you. The legality of their monstrous behavior is not of any concern to me. I don't care what the Supreme Court says about them. If cops aren't there to protect people, because technically, you know, nothing compels police officers to go save children from being gunned down by madmen except for their job requirements, you know. It's not against the law for a cop to quit right there. So if we're talking like, you know, what you're going to be arrested over, their effective desertion is not something like, we're not talking a legal issue. We're talking ethically here. And I think it makes it clear. Cops can have all the resources in the world. It's not going to make you 1 iota safer. They say, oh yeah, have an armed security guard at schools. That'll protect them. No, shooter will shoot him first. Or maybe that security guard is an ex-cop, in which case they're a fucking pussy and they'll run at the first sign of trouble. Who was the first person to die over at the supermarket in Buffalo? It wasn't the first person. One of the first people to die was the security guard. Got shot. What? You don't need 1 security guard, you need 2, 3? Columbine had an armed security guard, didn't it? It won't work. This good guy with a gun, bad guy with a gun bullshit is never, ever, 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 ever going to work, because unfortunately the main group of good guys with a gun that we have, dubious good qualifications, by the way, are gigantic pussies. Yeah, the security guard did actually shoot at the guy, though, so that's something to the security guard, you know. Credit where credit's due. The security guard at the Buffalo, you know, supermarket, Yeah, actually did hit an actually armored target, didn't he? The guy at the Buffalo, he actually was armored, wasn't he? Yeah. But he got him. At least it stung. And meanwhile, while the cops are sitting out there doing their drum circle, listening to the sound of gunfire inside, there are teachers in the school who are risking their lives. But when it comes down to the moment, you know, they actually do put their lives on the line to protect children. This has happened in a number of school shootings. Teachers throwing their lives away to even the slightest chance of protecting students. But cops, armed and armored cops, trained cops. I'm not just saying cops aren't heroes. They're less than normal people. Regular people can be heroes. Those teachers can be heroes. They're paid less to be heroes, trained less, armed less. They can be heroes. The cops, fearful, quivering cops, trained to fight. But fighting puts you at risk, doesn't it? No. So they are less than normal. They're less than not heroes. They're worthless. Absolute worthless. And by the way, this puts to lie the idea that cop militarization is about police officers responding to, like, high-threat situations. First of all, that's not what SWAT teams are used for. SWAT teams are used, in large part, to, like, serve no-knock warrants to fucking, like, do drug raids or whatever. Like, it's not like they're being shown up for fucking bank robberies every other day, you know? That's a small portion of what they do. And additionally, like, you know, they want to make every cop a SWAT officer, so you can do what? What threat are you going to address with your rifle and your, you know, armored vest and your, like, tear gas grenades? What are you going to do? Are you going to sit outside? All you're going to do is sweat more in your heavy clothing while sitting in the Texas heat as children die inside of the school, okay? That's what you're going to do. The only reason they want cops more militarized is because... Yeah, Pigeon? She's also outraged. The militarized cops are more of a threat to ordinary people. That's why. It has nothing to do. All this police militarization is about keeping you in line, not about keeping, you know, the dangerous criminals off the street. I'll tell you a secret, folks. I'll tell you a secret, okay? American criminals, they aren't doing their bank robberies in Abrams tanks. Regular old police officers with their regular old sidearms are capable of handling basically any threat level posed by any criminals in the American streets. That's sufficient for dealing with, let's say, a significant amount of crime. So when they get their rental APCs donated offhand from the military, they get their rifles, their tear gas, you know, what the fuck are they using that for? They're using it to scare you. Because they're too much of pussies to put that gear into actual use. Remember seeing the grenade launchers donated to cops? Yeah. Disgusting. Genuinely disgusting, seriously. And by the way, I don't think that the cops at this Texas shooting, I don't even think they're uniquely bad or cowardly or whatever. I think it's a corporate culture, if you will. I think this is how cops are taught to behave. Civilians are all potential threats. Your life matters more than anyone else's. Any measure that you take to protect yourself, even if it puts them in harm's way, is justified because at the end of the day, you need to make it back home, you know? All the time. People become cops so they can be the high school bully twice over. You know, people don't become cops so they can risk their lives saving children being shot at. But this is getting attention. And I genuinely do believe that this is going to produce a lot of significant warranted anti-police discourse, because even the Associated Press is mainlining this information. Onlookers urged police to charge into the Texas grade school where a gunman killed 19 children, 2 teachers. Witness said the rampage lasted upwards of 40 minutes, ending when the 18-year-old shooter was killed by a border patrol team. I didn't even mention that. Yeah, it wasn't even the fucking cops that got him. Apparently, they're even disputing, like, the border patrol thing. Like, it might have been a suicide, and they're just saying it was done by the other people as a way of... I don't know if that's true, though. I'm just hearing different stories, and, you know, this stuff always takes a while to settle out. AP is pretty reliable, though. Why were the border patrol team there? Oh, yeah, ICE showed up. Did I mention that? ICE showed up to the school. Watched the rest of the video linked last night. Zigabis, I don't know why you think I would have a video that you linked last night. Uvalde has a BP checkpoint, yeah. Why you think ICE showed up? I don't know. Go into the ICE thing more. Well, yeah, like Merrick said, you know, call for all units. You know, you bring people there. Also, you know, ICE, they just like being where the action is, you know? They're just moseying on down. When you're evil and you work for ICE, like, you know, you want to be around the school shootings. It's like a human sacrifice for a vampire or something, or for a lich. You know, you just want to be around, you just want to be where the action is. Are you familiar with the cop quote, "It's better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6? Yeah, like, you know. Except they're never really judged by 12, are they? Certainly not convicted. And of course, this has led to a tremendous amount of anti-gun discourse. I don't want it to lead to anti-gun discourse. I think it's less productive than it being anti-cop discourse, or anti-Republican discourse, or anti-NRA discourse, but you know, whatever. In the grand scheme of things, if I had to choose between two groups, one of which being SDL tier gun-hating liberals and the other group being NRA-loving Republicans, I'll choose the former 100 times out of 100.
Excuse me. Sit down. You're out of line and an embarrassment. Sit down and don't play this stuff.
The next shooting is right now, and you're doing nothing.
No, he needs to get his ass out of here. This isn't the place to talk this over.
This is totally predictable when you...
Sir, you're out of line. Sir, you're out of line. Sir,
Out of line.
You're out of line. Please leave this auditorium. I can't believe you're a sick son of a bitch that would come to a deal like this to make a political issue.
That's the mayor of Uvalde saying that? Well, yeah, of course. You know, Republicans are incredibly fragile. I'm sorry, but this is a publicity stunt? Yeah, of course it's a publicity stunt. But listen, the reason conservatives get so defensive over issues like this is because there's genuinely, like, every time one of these things happens, like, Republicans, like basically, like, they just don't want us to talk about it, you know? I think the funniest evidence that you can see of that is Charlie Kirk. Let me see if I could find... Hello, Pigeon. Wow, Pigeon, we're so involved with oh, yes. Fantastic. Yep. Yep, okay. Yep, thank you. All right, thank you. Yeah. Charlie Kirk, where... Let me see if I can find the... Oh, yeah, here we go. Okay, this is a brilliant one right here. And people were making fun of it, of course. Right here up top. If you're trying to politicize the senseless murder of 14 innocent children right now, you should probably stop. Pray for the families of the students in the community in Uvalde, Texas. This is before it was learned that the shooter was not a white nationalist. After the shooter was learned to have been a not white person, 40 minutes later, pay close attention to how quickly the media shifts their messaging from potential white supremacy to gun control after learning the last name of the shooter. So he literally, it was 18 minutes apart, lol. Yeah, it was literally like right off the bat. It was, let's not talk politics, guys. And then as soon as he realized the person wasn't white, it's like, all right, game on, baby. Yeah, beyond parody. Truly evil behavior. I'm surprised he just didn't delete the first tweet. Why? What difference would it make to delete the first tweet? Do you think Republicans care about consistency or truth? Do you think the obvious inconsistency in Trump's stories, like, deterred any of his followers? They're anti-empiricists. They think things are true when the people they believe are true say it's true. Evidence has nothing to do with it. Alright, cut this damn segment. God damn it. I really, really like this chair. It's outside of Metro Exodus and Fury, which are stream only.
Except.
What's up? But fine. Sure, Professor Dave explains. I don't know this channel. I don't know this person. They have 2 million subs. I don't know. Let's get past the confusion of the trans people. 10-minute video. Let's go. What's up, Professor Dave? Let's go. Woo! Wah! Woo! Wah!
Hey everyone, I know I don't discuss current events too often, but I'd like to do more of that, and there's one thing happening at the moment that I feel compelled to comment on. Everybody seems to be furious about trans people. Half of us are furious that they exist, and the other
controversial video. 2-to-1 like-dislike ratio.
Half are furious about what the other half is saying. I would like to jump in and see if I can clear up some of the ways that people are talking past each other. Now, it's no secret that I'm a bit on the liberal side, but rest assured, the left is not going to get away scot-free on this one. They're missing the mark on a few key points. But as tends to be the case, it's bigots on the right who are the main problem, so let's start there. The primary issue is people who deny transgenderism. These are the people who spew the tired Fox News talking points. Liberals say there are 89 genders and anyone can identify as a hamster, that sort of thing. It's a deliberate caricature of reality peddled by all the angry conservative dudes popping up in my feed lately who claim that nobody can define a woman. Let's all take a moment to acknowledge the problems that go along with